Long Qingxie gave a cold smile in his heart, but he looked embarrassed and said, "The master of this tomb is powerful. Even I can't compare with him." Mulin said in his heart, "Isn't that nonsense? They are the legendary summoners. Even though he has been dead for such a long time, it can be said that this tomb was built with all his strength, and this jade brand so far, I have no way to take it." In Mulin's heart, a burst of loss, although here Long Qing Evil so quickly refused, but for what he said, there is no doubt about him. After all, it's the tomb of the ancient summoner. Where can I get it so easily? But they all got here before the others. Is it necessary to leave like this? I'm not reconciled to that. At this moment, suddenly from the opposite channel came the noise. The people of the team immediately kept alert and formed a circle to protect Mulin. Ha ha ha, it seems that Yulin Town is going to take the lead this time. The bright voice rang out, far away, you can hear it very clearly. Mulin was stunned, and then a touch of ecstasy appeared on his face. When the figure just appeared in the square, Mulin quickly pushed away the person in front of him and went up, shouting to the figure, "Father." As soon as the Lord of Mu City looked in the direction of Mulin, his eyes brightened, and then he looked in the middle of the square. He found that the milky light was still there, so he didn't have time to pay attention to Mulin, so he just said, "I didn't expect you to come so fast. I'll talk to you when I get the jade card for my father." That said, the speed did not reduce, directly toward the jade plate. Mulin was so surprised that he called out, "Father, no." But at this time, how can the Lord of Mu City listen to him? Behind him are the city masters of other towns. If he is not quick, he may be taken away by others at any time. Mulin was very anxious, but he thought that the strength just now didn't hurt people, and he thought that maybe he could get the jade medal with his father's ability. At the moment, he no longer made a sound to stop him, but just stood in the same place and stared at the behavior of the Lord Mu. The speed of Lord Mu is very fast, even if he can't fly under the prohibition, he also raises the speed to the fastest. When he appeared next to the milky light, he did not hesitate to reach out and grab it. No. Later, several city masters who came to us immediately said with staring eyes, Hey, you're still a little late. It's mine." Mu City Lord complacent smile way, behind several city lord also hurriedly toward this direction. Next moment, the dazzling light appeared again, just like just now, illuminating the whole square. What's the situation? Everyone was shocked, and they all stepped back for fear that there was something in the light. On the other side, Mu Lin and others, who had experienced it for a long time, didn't mean to be afraid at all. They just blocked the light with their hands a little, and then went to see if the Lord Mu was successful. There was a clear sound of heavy objects falling to the ground in the huge square, which made Mu Lin deeply aware that his father had also failed. After the light disappeared, Mulin ran to the Lord and lifted him up from the ground. "Father, it's very powerful. Although it's not murderous, no one can get close to it." The Lord of Mu City looks gloomy, but he is not hurt, but the moment before he is proud to show off that he is going to succeed, the next moment is so embarrassed to appear in front of the public. This kind of face beating is too fast, let him unprepared. The first thing to stand up was to look at the other city masters. When they saw that their attention was on the milky light, the city master's face looked better. It's a tomb left by the ancient summoner. It's so powerful. Among the city masters, someone couldn't help sighing, even the skills of the city master Mu can be directly shot away. You can imagine what we will be like when we go up. The voice fell into the ears of the Lord Mu, and his face became very ugly. Where is that flattering him? This clearly means that just now their embarrassed appearance has fallen into their eyes. After what happened just now, everyone who just arrived at the square calmed down, but when they looked at the milky light, their eyes were still fanatical. Dragon Qing evil mouth a hook, the next thing he does not need to intervene. He doesn't even have to worry about these people taking away the jade card, because in his opinion, none of these people has the strength to take away the jade card. Even if they take away the jade card, they will take it back for the little guy. Now the most important thing is to find someone. Even if he delayed seeing her for a second, he felt impatient. Go back along the way you came, but you didn't go far. The voice just came from behind. Young Xia, please wait. Mulan with his team to catch up again, in a hurry to the side of Long Qingxie, some panting, as if for fear of missing Long Qingxie this great Xia. Why didn't you wait for me, young Xia, and suddenly left? Don't forget, we agreed to form a team. Mu Lin's smile was genial. Although he was blaming, he said it like a joke. Long Qingxie's face was covered with a smile of CSC, and he said, your father has passed, don't you help? With my father, I don't have to interfere in things there. My mission has always been to find other treasures in this tomb. Mulan said with a smile, so we still have a chance to work together. Long Qingxie's eyes flashed. You can't deny it. In that case, let's go together. Say it, then turn around and move on. Looking at Long Qingxie's back, Mulan followed him with a smile, as if he had taken a big advantage. However, he was constantly thinking about how to meet Yunwu the other side of the grave. Yunwu and other explorers searched all the ear chambers they saw along the way. According to the current strength of Cloud Dance, it can basically open all the ear chambers. Even if it can't be opened, there is little Josie to help. And Small 9 also from initially feel Cloud Dance small family spirit, to later unexpectedly also had interest in this kind of behavior. It's almost time. After searching another ear room, Yunwu estimated the time and said to the two people around him. Now some of them should have arrived at the center of the square, and we should go to see the excitement. Hualinger turned her eyes and said, I don't know if the jade metal has fallen into other people's hands now. No matter who it falls into, just don't be taken by the people in Yulin Town. Cloud Dance looked at the side of the little girl with the mouth, seems to have inexplicable hostility to the people in Yulin Town, can't help laughing. Even if it falls into their hands, I can get it back. Cloud Dance said, although the tone is light, but the eyes are very bright. Small 9 silently stood aside, did not speak, but will Cloud Dance look all in the eyes, can't help but also in the heart for Cloud Dance clap. His master should be like this, no matter when he is so confident. Unconsciously, Xiaojiu has been slowly investigating whether the Cloud Dance is qualified to be his own master, and in the process of investigation, he has been vaguely willing to accept the Cloud Dance. But what she doesn't know is that Yunwu didn't treat her as her own summoner from the beginning. Until now, Yunwu only treats her as her own partner. Cloud Dance two people in the Small 9 led toward the depths of the tomb, all the way even if you see the ear room has not been opened, also did not stop to sweep. Bang, a loud noise suddenly came from the front, is moving towards the depth of the Cloud Dance. Three people looked at each other, and then tacitly toward the other side. Damn it! I found this. Why do you rob it? A big man with stubble on his face was waiting for his eyes to say, and it was Mulan and his party standing opposite him. You found it? Mulan hissed and looked at him with a sneer, although you found this ear room, you have no ability to open it. It was our team that finally opened it. What? Do we have to talk about things after we've done our work? Can we divide you half? Mulan has a high reputation in the surrounding towns. No matter it is because of the taboo of his identity or because of his superficial demeanor, no one will refute his words on the spot. However, the man in front of him is obviously the third kind of person. He will not let him down because of his elegant demeanor, nor will he be taboo because of his identity background. In this situation, he will not give face directly. Fuck you. The mighty man spat on the ground and roared in a loud voice, Lao Tzu and his brothers have just found this treasure house and are preparing to start. If you don't have a hand in it, the treasure house of this song will belong to our brothers. Who told you we couldn't open? Tell you. Mulan's face sank directly when the big man was rude. He always talks in a roundabout way. When did he come across this kind of straightforward rude language? But also in front of so many people mercilessly pointed to the nose to scold him, let him how can endure. Speak with evidence. I warn you, don't blame me if you speak ill again. What do you want? You want to kill me, don't you? You think you want to do what you want to do as the young master of Yulin Town, don't you? I tell you. This treasure house belongs to Laozi. No one wants to rob me. Next time you find it, I'll open it for you. Mulan's face was very gloomy. At this moment, he didn't want to talk nonsense with the big man. He said coldly, I'm afraid I can't do what you want. Since I opened this place, it's mine. After that, he waved to the people behind him and gave the order, go in. Take things away. Yes, the uniform response sounded, and then the people rushed directly to the inside, one by one fierce, not letting. Who dares? It's not easy to be provoked by a group of big men. In one group, there was a person who stepped into the realm of Wuzong with half a foot. A group of desperado, do things without considering the consequences, only know that their brothers were bullied by the people in front of them, they will revenge back. A group of people directly to the door of the ear room station, stiffly will Mulan people blocked outside. Don't go too far. Mulan said in a cold voice, with an obvious threat in his tone, it's not fun to offend our Yulin town. At this time, there were not many people around him. Mulan didn't even intend to cover up. He directly exposed his own nature. At this time, he had already killed each other, or even never died. But it's a pity that the big man still didn't eat this. He also looked at Mulan coldly and said, Master Mu, I don't want to think about who's going too far. The voice of a strong man is rough, and it can sink down at this time. Compared with the threat of Mulan's life experience, the strong man's tone was more bloodthirsty. It was a bloodthirsty man who had been trained at the critical moment of life and death for many years. He lived a life of licking blood at the edge of a knife all day. What else was he afraid of? Mulan finally understood that the people he met this time were not the ones he had seen before who could make them obedient only by threats. Now he decided to kill them. In that case, don't blame me for being rude. After that, with a wave of Mulan's hand, a group of people behind him rushed up and directly wrestled with the powerful man's team. It's him again. Huolinger stands beside Yunwu and looks at the scene not far ahead. The smoke frowns, I know how to bully others all day, and I think I'm so powerful. If it wasn't for the fact that he was the child of the head of Yulin Town, how could so many people listen to him? Cloud Dance turned his head and looked at Huolinger, you have a big opinion on him. I thought you didn't hate him from your previous attitude. Huolinger was stunned, then turned his head directly, how can he not hate it? It's just that as the daughter of the Lord of Flint, I have to keep the relationship between the two towns at all times. Cloud Dance clearly nodded, the line of sight inadvertently skimmed a white figure not far behind Mulin, the heart can't help but jump, but was stunned when seeing that face. It's so much like is not as like as two peas, but of the temperament and action of a man. If it wasn't for the difference in figure and appearance, Yunwu almost thought that she had seen Dragon's evil. The man who has been separated from her for months. How could that be? Cloud Dance murmurs to say, the voice is very small, but still by the fire spirit son of the side heard. What's the matter? Sister Yun Huolinger followed her line of sight and looked over there. As expected, he saw the man in white just looking over here. Huolinger asked curiously, Sister Yun, is that your friend? The cloud danced to pause for a while, the corner of the mouth curled up a touch of radiant, said, is a friend, have not determined yet. Huolinger looks at Yunwu with some doubts, but finds that she doesn't mean to continue to talk, so she doesn't continue to ask. Anyway, it's just a contradiction. It's not that annoying guy who bullies people again. Huolinger tooted his mouth and knew that Yunwu always hated this kind of trouble, so he said, Sister Yun, we'll go there and don't pay any attention to them. This time, Cloud Dance is unusual. I've seen it all. How can I ignore it? Huolinger was stunned, and then he saw Yunwu walking slowly towards the other side. Behind him, Huolinger and Xiaojiu look at each other. They are very surprised at Yunwu's behavior. Seeing Yunwu walk past, they have to follow. The battle ahead has already begun. At this time, the fighting spirit of all kinds of colors is flying. If people with less strength are here, they will be directly injured. But the cloud dance is like entering the no one's land, self-care toward the other side. Mulan's mind was all on the battle in front of him, and he didn't notice the approach of Yunwu at all. He saw that the people he sent couldn't beat each other's people. Mu Lin's face sank and said to the man in white standing beside him, "Go and get rid of them for me." This man is the master of Wuzong realm. He was hired by the Lord Mu. He was not his servant, so he was very upset when he heard Mu Lin's command in this tone. He didn't answer at the moment and went forward in a dull voice. In the battle, the existence of an expert can often play a key role. After the person from the Wuzong realm joined, the battle was won by a powerful man. In a twinkling of an eye, the balance of victory tilted towards Mulan. However, Mulan, who was also an expert, had not yet made a move. A touch of disappointment flashed in the eyes of a big man, but more of it was bloodthirsty. Mulan looked at the situation in front of him with a cold smile. "What? I just said that I would give you a chance. You don't want to fight me. Who is to blame for this?" He glared at Mulan fiercely after fighting, as if he wanted to print his appearance in his mind, and said, "I poo. Scum. Do you have the face to say that?" Mu Lin sneered, "Besides, ugly words are just words, but you can say whatever you like. It won't be long before you have a chance to speak anymore. Although a strong man is fierce and reckless, he is not stupid. After hearing this, I know that Mulan has killed him. I'm afraid that from the beginning, his own ending has been doomed. If he did it again, he would also choose to offend Mulan, but it's a pity that these brothers who lived with him didn't die under the mechanism of the tomb, but died in the hands of Mulan." A touch of reluctance flashed in the eyes of a strong man. At this time, a figure suddenly broke into the war, compared with the figure of those burly men around. The figure who just broke in seems very small, as if a small butterfly flies into a chaotic place, which may destroy her at any time. But it is such a tiny-looking butterfly, but it can swim freely in it. Cloud dance. Mu Lin's face changed greatly and he screamed out. He would never forget how much pressure cloud dance exerted on him in the passage of the tomb. Although I thought later that I must feel wrong, how could a young man like that have that terrible strength? People around him also comforted him so much, so he was proud, really thought so, and even wanted to frame her, let her and her friends fall apart. But when Cloud Dance appeared again, Mulan couldn't help thinking of the pressure in the passage, which almost made him breathless. Yunwu glanced at him lightly. There was no extra emotion in his eyes. It seemed that he was just an irrelevant person. But such an ordinary look made him back. Behind him, there is another man who has the same color change as him. Long Qingxia is obsessed with looking at the figure that he has missed for a long time, and almost rushes to recognize her. From just now on, he has been looking at her, watching her step by step, also watching her rush into the battle. "Little guy, how can you be so brave?" What a good boy." Long Qingxia said in a low voice, his eyes were full of flattering smile. Such a battle is a piece of cake for Yunwu, so he didn't worry about the danger of Yunwu dance at all. Instead, he began to mourn for the man in front. "I don't know how many of his people will survive after this battle. I couldn't fight, but now there's another one. Does God have to fight against me?" A touch of despair flashed in the eyes of a big man, but more of it was madness. Cloud Dance to join the battle of the figure let him see in the eyes, the body light, skilled action, obvious extraordinary skill. But he didn't recognize such a character at all. Naturally, he thought it was someone sent by Mulan. "Boss, it's not right. You see she's helping us." A tall and thin man beside him heard the voice of a big man and gave a voice to remind him. As soon as the words came out, the big man was stunned and looked over there. Sure enough, he saw that the target of Yunwu was the people who wore the uniform clothes of Yulin town. "This what's going on?" The big man looked at what happened in front of him. Cloud Dancing figure is like a flying butterfly, constantly shuttling through the crowd, waving an ancient martial arts sword in her hand, which can always take away the lives of people. One by one, the figure is falling down. Then she takes out a person who belongs to the category of experts in the fish scale array, but in her hand, it is like a fish on the sticky board to be slaughtered. Boss! She's here to help us, the men around them yelled excitedly. The voice attracted the eyes of all the people around. The big men gradually became excited, while the people in Mulan were full of panic. White Shadow! What are you doing? Go and stop her, Mulan cried out in panic. The Wuzong master in the battle took a life here, turned his head and put his eyes on Yunwu. Looking at that fluent technique, White Shadow's eyes were stained with a layer of killing intention. Cloud, dance. White Shadow low voice spit out these two words, clearly did not use much volume, but let all the people in the scene heard. The dragon on the other side narrowed his eyes dangerously and looked at the man in white. He's a little upset, and he's very upset. The color of his clothes was bumped by other men, and the key is that he still wears white, so ugly. The most unpleasant thing is that he is also wearing white clothes, and he dares to be so vicious to his little guy. Although it's a matter that 8 poles can't get together, it's the same result for Long Qingxie. He's very upset. Young Xia, I don't know if I can ask you to do it. Mulan suddenly turned his head and looked at the dragon behind him. From just now until now, Long Qingxie has never said anything. Mulan thinks that dragon's evil is the default of his and the big man's behavior of seizing the ear room. He also thinks that dragon's evil must be just so light and light on the surface. Who can't pretend? And Cloud Dance appeared for such a long time, but he had no reaction, which was enough to show that the friend he was looking for was not Cloud Dance. Maybe it's just a coincidence that there are 2 masters in several towns, or 2 masters who don't know each other. They are looking for their own friends here. If you are willing to do something, Yulin Town owes you a favor. Please let me know what you need in the future. Mulan looked at Long Qingxie and said seriously. At this moment, he knew that only Long Qingxie could help them. Long Qingxie eyebrows picked, looking at in front of a face, seriously looking at their own. Mulan, silent for a long time, did not speak, finally said, "Good, I go." Said, then slowly stood up, straight body, toward the fighting place. A little bit of move passed. In the front, Bai Ying and Yunwu have been fighting together for a long time. Yunwu is merciless. Compared with the last fight in the channel, this one is more real. Although the hand of the ancient martial arts sword did not rely on the power of black flame, the strength of Emperor Wu alone was enough to crush White Shadow. You Emperor Wu. White Shadow can't believe looking at this quite young woman in front of her, even can say that she is just a little girl. Such a person is the master of Emperor Wu's realm. How can he believe it? You know, he has always been called a genius. Cloud Dance mouth a hook, but did not answer, directly with their own strength to prove the inference of White Shadow. What? Is she Emperor Wu? How could it be? Bai Ying's voice didn't deliberately lower, so Mu Lin on the other side heard it clearly. This little girl is the realm of Emperor Wu. Is it true or not? Really? Look at her strength. The people here are talking about it one after another, and their eyes on Yunwu are different. Such a young Emperor Wu must have made great achievements in the future. Mulan naturally knows this. At this stage, no matter whether Yunwu is Emperor Wu or not, he has only one choice, that is to kill her. But can you do it by yourself, young Xia? Looking at the back of the dragon, Mulan could not help shouting, young Xia. Kill her. Yulin Town owes you a favor from now on. Long Qingxie turned his back to Mulin's face and showed a lazy smile. He replied lazily, good. With the answer of Long Qingxie, Mulan finally breathed a sigh of relief. It seems that the strength of this young Xia is not weaker than that of Yunwu. On the other side, Huolinger frowned and asked Xiaojiu, do you think that man is so powerful? After knowing Sister Yun's strength, he is still so calm. Isn't he Emperor Wu? Small 9-1 pair of coquettish eyes put on the body of Long Qingxie. That handsome and shameless man looks is so dangerous, even she can't determine the strength of this man, so can only shake her head. I don't know, but your sister Yun is not weak. And I always feel that the relationship between them is unusual. With such an answer, Huolinger was slightly relieved. No matter what his relationship is, it's not common as long as Sister Yun is not in danger. In front of the battle, the speed of Cloud Dance is getting faster and faster, and the whole battlefield has changed from the initial scuffle to the battlefield of Cloud Dance and White Shadow. The others, no matter they are the strong men or Mulan's subordinates, all give up the idea of coming forward. Looking at the purple fighting spirit, who has the courage to release his fighting spirit? There is a man who dares. Cloud Dance once again hands up knife fall, hand of Gu Wu big knife directly toward White Shadow cut, this once if cut, must be fatal. White Shadow's reaction speed is very fast, in the Cloud Dance attack has not yet arrived, directly toward the side of the distortion, with an extremely tricky angle just hide this move attack in the past. But it's not over. Long Qingxia's figure appears between them, but it doesn't attack Yunwu. Instead, it kicks Bai Ying, kicks him out and bumps him into the back wall. Boom, a loud noise, White Shadow's body directly fell on the ground, all over the bones as if scattered in general, but for the first time raised his head, can't believe looking at the man in front of him. What are you doing, young Xia? Mulan exclaimed excitedly, I want you to kill that woman. What are you doing? Long Qingxia's eyebrows picked lightly. He turned to look at the excited Mulan over there and said something that made him more collapsed. You asked me to kill, but I didn't say who to kill. And even if you do I promise? Did I promise to kill someone for you? Besides, even if I promise, how about I go back now? Mulan's face changed greatly. Just now, he thought that the person he was looking for was not Yunwu. Maybe it was just a coincidence, but the fact told him that he was just deceiving himself. Think about it. If you stand with her, you will be against my whole Yulin town. At the critical moment, Mulan can only think of this move, staring at the dragon and said, Oh. Is that right? Long Qingxia stood beside Yunwu and said, I know you are the young master of Yulin town, but what about that? Let alone a small Yulin town, even if the whole country gives it to me, I don't want it. Mu Lin Qi's face turns blue. I don't know what's going on today. It seems that everything is not going well since I met Yunwu. Forgetting the name of the young master of Yulin town, which has always worked, is becoming more and more ineffective and less taken seriously. Now, some people call their names and say that they are not interested in Yulin town. Good, good, good. Mulan laughed angrily, looked at the man standing beside Yunwu and said, I should have thought of it. You have discussed it. The purpose is for the things in this grave. Long Qingxia shrugged his shoulders and said, so what? Do you want to eat all the things here? Yu Mulin's eyes stare, looking at the dragon's evil appearance, but he can't say a word. On the other side, the White Shadow who was kicked to one side had already stood up from the ground and looked at the two people in front of him viciously. His eyes were full of anger. It's really a group of people. Bai Ying said the same thing as Mulan. But both of them forgot who was the first to find whom at the beginning. If Mu Lin didn't use the dragon to deal with Cloud Dance at the beginning, this would not happen at this time. Yes, they are. So what? Long Qingxia coldly said, with the incomparably charming face, suddenly blocked each other speechless. It's you. Long Qingxia's words just half said, White Shadow can't help a shiver from the bottom up, he has a premonition, the white man's next words are absolutely not good words. Sure enough, Long Qingxia immediately said, you dare to speak to her like that, even dare to be murderous to her, then I'm no wonder. As soon as the words were finished, the hand of Dragon Qingxia turned, and a black energy leaped directly in the palm. As soon as the power appeared, people around him suddenly opened their eyes, as if they saw something more terrible, which was more terrible than Cloud Dance. Yu Wulingbuying looks at the handsome man in front of her in shock. However, it was the dragon's action that answered him. Between that group of small jump of black energy light floated up, directly toward the White Shadow fly. It seems that it's so slow, but Bai Ying doesn't even have time to react. The black energy is fleeting, and it has disappeared into the body of White Shadow. Wengo Island. Sure enough, the island is full of tenderness. The women here are beautiful, hot, graceful and passionate. This makes Situlan a little embarrassed, just like the fantasy in front of him now. At this time, Song Huanxiang's eyes were already soft and shining. Looking at Situlan, his eyes were full of deep feelings. However, Situlan sat awkwardly beside him. He seemed to be very formal and had an impulse to escape immediately. From the magic incense sitting in Situlan opposite, looking at Situlan very embarrassed face, can't help but sigh, also. Maybe time is not enough. After all, we just met and we are not in a hurry. From the magic incense side, laughed, but very reluctantly, turned away. Situlan watched from the back of the magic incense, until she disappeared at the door, just vomited a breath. It's really troublesome for secret women to turn around and see that they are resplendent. Even the bowls and chopsticks are made of pure gold, which makes Situlan sigh. As a matter of fact, they are not easy to be provoked. A woman can lead a tribe to such a brilliant level, which is really not what ordinary women can do. But I don't know when I can leave here and find my friends. Stand up and walk into the room. Don't think about it. I just want to arrange for him to live here. I was so sleepy that I didn't think about it anymore. I just fell asleep. It's dawn. Before he opened his eyes, he heard the voice of the magic fragrance in his ears. With a fragrance, Situlan quickly closed his eyes again. Why haven't you woken up? Are you so sleepy? A bowl of fragrant porridge was put on the small cabinet beside the bed. The fragrant wind left again with a sigh. Situlan finally vomited a tone, sat up in a hurry, looked out of the window, and walked away from the phantom fragrant figure. Don't know how to face from the magic incense eagerness, Situlan think also feel headache, cross knee sit up, close your eyes, began to carry on breathing. The fighting spirit in his body didn't mean to break through, which disappointed Situlan. So he got up and cleaned up and went out of the room. I haven't seen this rich island carefully these days. Just in the morning, the island is busy with people coming and going. There are many pubs on the street. At the door of the pubs, there is a wooden board with all kinds of strange rewards on it. Situlan curiously walked over and talked with a group of people standing in front of the board. The price is too low. My God, high-level Warcraft is only 5,000 gold. How can people go? You say it's not enough for us to buy back the blood pill. That's right. This one won't work. Let's go to the next one. After carefully looking at the things on the board, he was attracted. There were many rewards and wanted tasks, each of which had a different price, which made Situlan really interested. He took a look at the recruitment in one of the taverns and went in. Innumerable warriors sat in the tavern chatting and boasting about their strength. Behind the counter, the shopkeeper was cleaning the table, lowering his head and not looking at the people coming in. Boss. Situlan came in and called. In front of the person did not look up, continue to wipe the table, completely will Situlan ignored. Hello, boss, are you recruiting here? Situlan called again and could not help knocking on the table. At this time, the boss finally raised his head, looked at Situlan coldly, and pointed to the upstairs. Situlan said thanks with a smile and turned to walk upstairs. On the second floor, there were all elegant rooms one by one. At the door of the elegant room, there were tasks one by one and the number of recruits. This made Situlan feel very funny. He found a boy lying on the table sleeping and knocked on the table. Hey, little brother, are you still recruiting here? The young man immediately raised his head, opened his eyes and looked at Situlan. He was surprised and said, Are you here to recruit, young Xia? Situlan sat down and nodded, but he was thinking about how to earn some money to find friends. The young man in front of him jumped up and came out from behind the table. He took Situlan's hand and burst into tears. I've been sitting here for more than 10 days. No one has come at all. Young Xia, you are the first one. All of a sudden, Situlan had an ominous premonition, but before he asked more questions, the boy had turned and ran away, leaving a sentence, "Young Xia, wait a moment." Situlan was very helpless, so he had to push open the door of the house and come out. He looked at the door plate. Suddenly, he opened his mouth in amazement and escorted the escort team. What a recruitment! I can't laugh or cry in my heart. Why doesn't anyone go to this kind of recruitment? If some lazy people are willing to go to this kind of task which is easy to make money but not tired. Before long, the young man came over with an old man. Before the old man spoke, he had already knelt down excitedly. Situlan quickly helped the old man up and sat on the chair with a bitter smile. The old man doesn't have to be so polite. It's just a seeing off team. It's not easy for us to see off our parents. The old man looked at Situlan in amazement. Don't you see where we said to send it? See, send the Devil's Land Forest to Ningxia Island. Situlan blinked. What's wrong? The two men looked at each other and saw the surprise in each other's eyes. The old man took out the map and put it in front of Situlan. You really don't know where the demon forest is? Aren't you from here? But with a bitter smile, Situlan had to nod. The old man took a look at the young man beside him and said to Situlan in a twinkling of an eye, if there is no problem, we can start. We can go to Xiafu and talk about the process in detail. After signing the agreement, we will pay half of the reward first, and then pay the other half after we come back in good condition. Then he arched his hand and said, I'm in the next day. Situlan also quickly arched his hand, under Situlan. So that night, Situlan and Yi Tianchao went to the mansion. The old man explained the whole process of the task in the evening and placed Situlan in a guest room. The next morning, Situlan followed these people on the road. There are many people in the company, but it seems that they are all under Yi Tian's family. They said hello to each other and walked in one direction. Where are we going? Situlan had some doubts. To pick up the bride, of course. Yi Tian rode beside Situlan with a happy smile. The bride lives in a village not far away. She is a lady from a rich family and marries the island leader there. Situlan squints his eyes and says nothing behind Yi Tian. All the way there is a chat without a word. Less than half a column of incense time has arrived at the Mrs. Home. The door of the Mrs. Home has been decorated, flying red everywhere, extremely gorgeous. The whole village knows that the young lady is getting married. It's said that this young lady is a famous beauty in the whole village, but she has been waiting to be married. If it wasn't for her parents' tough decision to marry her to the island leader this time, she might have become an old girl and couldn't get married. So, is there such a custom here? Situlan and his party stood outside the door, watching the two maids help a girl with a red cloth cover out of the room and go to the carriage. Vaguely, it seems that you can still hear the girls cry. People around seem to be very heavy, only parents, where the abnormal smile happy. As the girl was sent to the carriage, the people at the door drove the carriage, and they went to the direction of the demon forest. The big red carriage was very conspicuous on the island. It attracted the eyes of all the people around it. Situlan sat on the horse and looked around. Everyone cast a curious look. Suddenly, in the crowd, Situlan in the crowd, saw a familiar figure, from the magic incense. At this time, from the magic incense is standing in the crowd, two people's line of sight, unexpectedly so unprepared to look at each other. He frowned in Huan Xiang's eyes. His eyes were full of tears. Suddenly, he raised his hand and wiped his eyes. He turned and disappeared into the crowd. Situlan felt tight in his heart and sighed again. Maybe it's not good to escape like this, but now, with a bitter smile, he turned his head and went on. Soon, the team moved from downtown to the remote wild. From the beginning to the end, the girl in the red sedan chair didn't show her head. By dusk, everyone had come to the foot of the mountain. Over this mountain, through the Devil's Land Forest, you will arrive at Ningxia Island. Yi Tian ordered everyone to get off the horse and set up camp at the foot of the mountain, but it's too late. We can't go into the mountain and have been walking for a day, so stay here first and start tomorrow. So everyone started to camp quickly until it was completely dark. Everyone began to take out dry food. Some people even went to the neighborhood to hunt rabbits. They made a fire and talked and laughed. Although they were tired, they were very happy. Situlan turned to look at the red carriage. The girl in the carriage didn't say anything and didn't ask for anything. This made Situlan a little strange, so he picked up the rabbit just baked and went to the carriage. "Girl, come down and have something to eat. You've been away for a long time, and you should be hungry," said Situlan, sticking to the side of the carriage. There was a sudden sound in the carriage, and then the curtain was lifted, a small gap, and a beautiful slender hand stretched out from inside. Situlan reached out and handed her the hair in his hand. After taking the hair, he drew back. There was no sound again. Situlan felt bored, so he was ready to return to everyone. Suddenly, in the carriage behind him, a small but very nice voice came, "Please wait a moment." After a pause, Situlan sighed, turned to walk over and stood on the side of the carriage. "Please, miss." My. It seemed that the girl in it was very uncomfortable. After a long time, she didn't understand. After a long time, she finally said shyly, "I think that can you go with me?" Situlan felt a little embarrassed, but after looking at these people, they were all big men. None of them could be responsible for serving a woman. He was also very depressed. He was ready to promise to see a man come over, patted him on the shoulder and said, "I'll go with her." "You don't know where to go." Without much thought, Situlan nodded and walked towards the fire. Looking around, he saw the man holding the girl's hand and coming out of the sedan chair. They walked towards the woods nearby. In the end, there was only a dark forest. "Why don't you come back?" Etian murmurs and turns to look at the woods. He has fallen asleep around him. The campfire has gone out, and finally it has gone out in a gust of wind. "I have a bad feeling in my heart." Situlan looked at the woods and asked Etian, "Is this wood safe?" "How could it be safe?" Etian said, "As long as it is a place with luxuriant trees, Warcraft appears in groups. Besides Warcraft, there are many mountain bandits around here." Etian frowned, very flustered. Situlan didn't speak. He stood up and walked towards the woods. Into the woods, I saw a dark, looking around, but how did not find the girl and the man's figure. Situlan's heart was uneasy. Was he attacked by Warcraft or did the girl run away? Continue to explore forward, toward the depths of the woods. Suddenly in front of the forest came a conversation, "You go quickly, don't come back." "But why don't you come with me?" The woman's voice with a cry, has been pleading, "I beg you, come with me quickly. If we disappear here, others will only think that we were eaten by Warcraft, so you go with me, we find a place where there are no people to live together, isn't it good?" Situlan frowned and stood not far away listening quietly. "But, Fan Mei, I'm still the bodyguard of the master's house. How can I betray the master? Is your love and I not as important as your master?" There was a clear sense of disappointment in the woman's voice. A moment of silence. Situlan is entangled in his heart. It's really hard for him to decide what the couple are facing now. He doesn't know whether he should choose to take them back, continue to let the woman marry the island leader, or let them elope together and go back to recover their lives. All of a sudden, a heavy gasp came from behind, with the special low roar of Warcraft, which made Situlan tight. He turned to look behind him, and saw countless green eyes suddenly appeared in the woods behind him, still slowly approaching. Wengo Island. Situlan nervously drew out his sword and retreated to the girl and the bodyguard. The bodyguard was startled. After seeing that it was Situlan, the man's eyes were filled with murderous spirit. He drew a long sword from his waist and pointed to Situlan. "When did you come here? Since you've talked about running away together." Situlan murmured, but did not pay attention to the careful man behind him, just focused on looking at the green eyes behind him. The bodyguard also found the wolves behind him, and suddenly became nervous. He went to Situlan and stood side by side with him. "Are you here to catch us back?" Situlan was affectionate and serious. He didn't look at the bodyguard at all, but said coldly, "I think we'd better solve the current situation before chatting." Both of them were silent, and the bodyguard was very worried, because it was the group outside the forest. Now if they were fighting with the wolves, they would hear them. In this way, no one could escape. Turning to look at the woman behind, the guard said, "Sister Fan, you go first, or none of us will be able to leave." But the woman's eyes were red, and she was crying. She wanted to say something, but she was interrupted by Situlan. "I also think it's true. You go quickly, or we can't fight with you who can't protect ourselves." The bodyguard and the woman, almost at the same time, opened their eyes to see Situlan in front of them. The wolves before Situlan met had no intention of rushing up, so he turned around, walked towards the woman, waved his sword and stabbed the woman. "No!" the bodyguard yelled, and his face turned pale. Before he could stop him, he saw Situlan pick up his sword and take a piece of red cloth from the woman's body. He held it in his hand, looked up and said to the woman, "Go, from now on, you will be dead." Looking up at the dense dark forest, he said, "If you go out from here, you will be left to fate. There are many warcraft on the road ahead. It's up to you whether you run away or are eaten by warcraft." Turning around, he went to the guard and took a deep look at the guard. "You must fight with me now." The bodyguard turned his head and looked at the woman. Suddenly, his eyes were full of tears. He gritted his teeth, nodded and turned to face the wolves. In an instant, countless green eyes in all directions rushed towards them. "Be careful!" Situlan yelled and stabbed him with a sword. A wolf screamed under Situlan's sword. The assassin retreated several steps, fell to the ground and rolled together. The bodyguard pursed his mouth tightly. It was obvious that this was the first time he had participated in this type of battle. He was in a cold sweat and his face was red. "Before they come back, leave and go after the girl." With this, Situlan raised his hand and used his sword as a knife to cut it. His blood sprayed his face. He wiped his face, turned his head and looked at the guard with a smile. "I'm not from this tribe, so your business has nothing to do with me, don't you think?" The guard's mouth widened in surprise. At this time, his eyes were full of gratitude. He nodded to Situlan and focused on dealing with the wolves in front of him. Etion, outside the forest, looked at the dark direction of the forest strangely. "What's the matter? Why hasn't Situlan come out yet?" All the people around stood up and looked inside. Then they turned and looked at Etion, as if they were waiting for Etion's order. All of a sudden, there was a loud howl in the forest. It was so long that everyone could not help shivering and looked at the forest in horror. "Are they attacked by wolves in the forest?" Etion frowned and became nervous immediately. All of them took out their weapons. For a moment, they were all on guard. The bodyguard is panting and full of scars. We can see the fierce battle just now. The wolves in front of him are like crazy. They are rushing towards the direction of two people. But Situlan is calm and easy to deal with everything in front of him. All of a sudden, there was a lot of noise outside, which made Situlan frown. Looking out, he saw a large group of people coming towards the forest with torches. Suddenly, Situlan's heart was heavy. He turned to the bodyguard and said, "You go quickly. You go to find your Fan Mei. Wave off a wolf's head." Situlan blocked in front of the bodyguard. The bodyguard seemed to be hesitating for a long time. He lowered his head and shook his hands. He didn't know where to go. Seeing a wolf coming from behind the bodyguard, Situlan couldn't help frowning and stabbing at the bodyguard's back. He yelled, "It's too late if you don't go. The forest is so dangerous. I'm afraid the girl is not safe." With that, the bodyguard seemed to have made up his mind to tear off the symbol of the adult on his hand, cut off a wisp of his hair, and handed it to Situlan. "Please brother, if we can meet again in the future, we will be rewarded by Yongquan." Then he arched his hand and ran to the darkness behind him. People outside, seeing that they were about to come in, suddenly burst into the sky in the dark forest. Situ Lan looked at the wolf in front of him, and suddenly raised his hand to block the wolf's bite. Suddenly, the wolf's teeth bit Situ Lan's arm, and the blood flowed like a column. Situ Lan put their hair and clothes under the blood for a long time. "Little brother." Over there, I suddenly heard Yi Tian's voice coming from a distance. Situ Lan covered his arm and threw the sword on the ground. The wolf in front of him soon rushed up to Situ Lan and bit him with a roar. Yi Tian was startled. He waved the torch and waved it to the wolf. In an instant, the wolves were scared back, and the whole crowd rushed to protect Situ Lan behind them. After that, he helped Situ Lan up from the ground. He looked at Situ Lan from the sky and saw that there was no big wound. Then he vomited and looked around, wondering, "Little brother, what about those two people?" Situ Lan sighed very sad and spread out his palm. Suddenly, the clothes and hair of the two people with blood appeared in front of Yi Tian. Yi Tian's face turns pale and swallows saliva. He is scared to retreat for several steps. This is a big deal. Both sides of the handover are rich businessmen. If such a terrible thing happens in the middle of the journey, then the next thing is totally unpredictable. I'm afraid the whole mercenary team will be destroyed. Well, how could that be possible? Yi Tian exclaimed, staggering back 2 steps, but sitting under the tree, because of the sky fire, so the surrounding wolves are unconsciously quietly left. Situ Lan looked down at his wrist with a bitter smile in his heart. He didn't know whether his decision was right or not. He didn't know whether the 2 men could be saved when they fled to the mountains from here. Thinking about this, I went to see Yi Tian with a gloomy face, stood up from the ground and asked him, "Do you mean that when you come here, you just see them eaten?" "Yes, I went to save them, but there was no time at all. After I dispersed the wolves, even the blood on the ground was almost licked clean." Situ Lan sighed, very sorry. Yi Tian clenched his teeth, clenched his fist, and his face was extremely gloomy. "In this way, I'm afraid we'll die this time." Looking at the barren mountains, Situ Lan could not help frowning and ran out to avoid the woman. "Now I have encountered such a thorny problem. I let them go by taking advantage of my convenience, but I don't know what the next team will face. But in Situ Lan, I hate compulsion." A large group of people, in the mountains, sitting together in a circle. It's late at night, and there are all kinds of situations in the forest, which makes people have to watch around carefully. Suddenly, a terrible howl came from the forest. The sound seems to penetrate the forest, towards the whole night sky penetration, suddenly, one after another of the calls, from all directions of the forest. It made everyone sweat. This is a wolf's nest. Everyone stood up, arms in their hands tightly clenched, in small groups, surrounded by a small circle, attentively alert. Around, countless wolves walk, but no wolf dare to come forward, because at this time of the crowd, almost everyone has a torch, which is very terrible in the eyes of the wolves, but they are also very smart. They know that there will be a moment when the torch will be exhausted. The wolf around him paced slowly, with a pair of green eyes, flickering in the woods. He couldn't see the edge at a glance, so everyone's heart sank again. "Curator E, what should we do? I'm afraid we are no match for so many wolves. Now there are 2 dead, and we don't know." There is a bodyguard, behind Yi Tian, swallowing saliva and stammering. Yi Tian turned his head and glared at him angrily. "Shut up, don't say these words." His eyes glanced at Situ Lan, who was surrounded by light clouds, and said, "Who knows if he is dead? Maybe he is running away, but he is disguised as being killed by wolves." Said, suddenly grinned, "But don't worry, I see the wolves all over the mountains, I see the 2 people, even now alive, can't escape here." Gradually, the torches of the people around him gradually went out, and Situ Lan looked around. Sure enough, those wolves have begun to move, a pair of green eyes as if to swallow life. People feel gloomy and terrible. "Little brother, what do you say?" Yi Tian went to Situ Lan carefully and asked in a low voice. "It's going to have to be tough." Situ Lan light smile, "However, poor girl, I'm afraid there is still a sweetheart. The result of this not only lost his wife, also lost his life. Women, of course, are the orders of their parents. Yi Tianling snorts, full of disdain. She can marry a good family, that's her honor. Situ Lan couldn't help but smile. He bowed his head and said nothing, but in his eyebrows, he was filled with indifference. When everyone's torches almost burned out, the whole pack suddenly began to attack. Everyone's face was pale and focused on fighting against the turbulent wolves in front of him. Only Situ Lan seemed to need his eyes sleepily to look at the eastern sky. It's almost dawn. The skyline has a ray of light, and the forest is gradually less dark. If it goes on like this, the wolves in the forest will soon retreat. But in front of the wolves, but like red eyes, crazy towards the team. There were countless howls, the sound of broken bones and the sound of eating meat, which made the atmosphere of the whole forest suddenly terrible. Some timid people who have just entered the business have been scared to pee their pants. Before they have time to fight, they have been torn apart by the wolves and eaten. In a primeval forest closest to the top of the volcano. No one would have thought that in several small towns where Wu Zong was the ruler, there were one master after another. If he didn't feel the power that was introduced into his body, he would be so huge. I'm afraid that Buying doesn't want to admit that the man opposite is Wuling realm. You if it's really Wuling. White Shadow can't believe looking at the dragon to pour evil. Wuling. At the same time, all the people around were shocked. They thought that he was wrong when they heard the voice of Buying. But now I see that Buying doesn't even have the ability to resist under the man's hand, and I hear that Buying who has already fought with the man is more sure that he is the realm of Wuling. Even if he doesn't want to believe it, he can only believe it. He is really Wuling. What does a Wuling man do here? When did such a master come to Flint Town? It's incredible. Is he also interested in the things in this tomb? The sound of discussion continues to ring out, and everyone looks at the dragon with a kind of adoring eyes. The face that is enough to charm all living beings looks more sacred at this time. Different from the others, Yunwu, who is not far behind Long Qingxie, is inexplicably relieved. Wuling, it's really him. Cloud Dance's eyes narrowed, although I don't know why his strength will improve so much. But when she saw his hand, the unique habit and breath made her sure that the man in front of her was the man she had been looking for a long time. After many days, he finally appeared in front of himself with a more tall posture. Long Qingxie's strike was successful, and he didn't act again, because he knew clearly that his just strike had no way to force that force out of his body with the strength of White Shadow, and he would die under that force before long. No matter who dares to kill the little guy, he will not let it go. But now, the dragon has more important things to do. Turning around and looking at the figure behind him, Long Qingxie also looked at his own figure. There was a smile on his beautiful face. Little guy, I haven't seen you for a long time. Do you still recognize me as a husband? Once the words came out, all the people around were petrified. Long Qingxie's voice was not deliberately lowered, so everyone could hear it clearly. For husband? Is this beautiful man in Wuling realm the husband of this woman? No, how could it be? This girl looks young, how can she have a husband at a young age? And how could this man ask her if she knew her husband? Isn't that strange? Cloud Dance a corner of the mouth hook, way, I poor is really don't recognize. The crowd fainted again. What's the situation? Long Qingxie laughs. His figure flashes and goes directly to Yunwu. With an extension of his arm, he hugs Yunwu in his arms and says, "Don't you know me? Then I'll let you know it again." The intimacy of the two fell into the eyes of the people around them. It was only at this moment that they finally realized that the two people who were higher than each other in skill level really recognized each other. Sister Yun, this is the sister you are looking for, friends? Hualinger jumps to Yunwu's side with bright eyes, looks at Long Qingxie's body with curious eyes, thinks about the wording, and almost says, brother-in-law. Later, I thought of what I said before Cloud Dance, and changed it into a friend. Small 9 also walked to come over, looking at the Long Qing evil's face up and down to ponder. After a while, don't cross a face to go, eyes quite some not angry. Clearly is a big man, even more evil than her, really evil. Little 9 silently make complaints about her. Well, his name is Long Qingxie. Cloud Dance introduces the way to Huolinger, and then introduces Huolinger and Xiaojiu to Long Qingxie. Several people recognize each other. Long Qingxie had a warm smile on his face, just like, thank you for taking care of my wife. It looks like an elegant young man, but he is thinking, little guy, there are many adventures these days. Cloud Dance turns a white eye at one side stomach and Dragon Poor Evil. How can she not see the meaning of Dragon Poor Evil? When did you see him like this? A few people are talking noisily here, but some people below can't stay. Mulan looked at the 4 people who were talking and laughing in front of him with a cold face. He wanted to rush up and kill them all. Originally wanted to use the dragon to sow dissension, but did not expect that the other side did not hesitate to stand beside Yunwu. He eventually underestimated the relationship between them. Young master, shall we leave first? Behind him, an attendant came to Mulan's side and said in a low voice. My current enemy is a Wudi and a Wuling. No matter how I look at it, I can't offend them. Even if I pour all the strength of Yulin town, I can't touch them. Suddenly, Mulan feels so powerless. Why do you offend such a big man? Looking at the 2 figures who talked happily, Mulan's eyes were full of unwilling, spitting out a sentence from his teeth, go. Then turn around and leave. What? Young Master Mu is leaving now. Long Qingxie's lazy voice sounded as if he was saying goodbye to an old friend who was about to leave, but it was so terrible in Mulan's ears. Just stepped out of the pace of a meal, Mulan's body inadvertently some shaking. Cloud Dance. Several people put the line of sight to Mulan's body one after another, and the public below also looked directly in the past. For a moment, Mulin was on his back. Mulan! Huolinger cried out. She also saw the scene just now. She didn't like this Mulan, especially when she saw him bullying others. But at the moment, she suddenly wanted to ask for help for him. If the man in white, who is Wuling, really does it, I'm afraid that Mulan will fall here in an instant. It's just that they don't know the relationship between several towns nearby, and they know each other. When Sister Yun leaves, there will be war between Yulin Town and Flint Town. And as a Flint, she had to stop the fight. Sister Yun, he. Huolinger pulled Cloud Dance's sleeve and said in a low voice. His eyes were full of hesitation. Although he has such a reason, but said the Primer Stone Town did not give Cloud Dance any help. Along the way, Sister Yun has taken care of her a lot. Do you want to let Sister Yun be wronged but not revenge because of herself? Huolinger's heart is very tangled. Yunwu looks down at her. Seeing her like this, she can't help but reach out and rub her head. Instead of saying anything to her, she raises her head and looks at Mulan. Her eyes are cold. What she says is to Dragon Qingxie. It's almost time. We should go inside and have a look. You must have been here for a long time. Before Long Qingxie left the center, the city masters had already arrived. If they started fighting for the jade medal, they were afraid that the battle would be almost finished. Now they are in the past, and they just sit and reap the benefits. Long Qingxie knew that Yunwu was going to let Mulan go. Now he stopped pestering him. He put his hand into Yunwu's arms and said with a smile, "That's what I said. It's time for us to join in the fun." After that, without waiting for Huolinger and Xiaojiu to take Cloud Dance directly, they went to the center. Wuling's speed is very fast. Although he can't fly, it's not easy for others to catch up with him. Oh, wait for me. Small 9-1 stamp foot, a coquettish face is full of unwilling. What kind of master? He is so fond of sex but despises friends. When he sees a man who is more beautiful than me, he leaves so fast. How can you survive the test and get the inheritance without my help? When I see it? Having said that, he hastened to catch up. Hua Linger is surprisingly quiet. I'm afraid that she's still grateful for Yunwu's help. She quickly follows Xiaojiu to the front. She is not familiar with the grave. If left alone, I'm afraid it will be dangerous. Ling Yar. Mulan's voice sounded behind him. Hua Linger's footstep, without looking back, continued to move forward, pretending not to hear. Mulan's face became a little better just because Hua Linger helped him. Young master. One side of the entourage carefully said, we are not going to see other ear room. Go away. Mu Lin was in a bad mood. At this time, someone came to the door and roared. He was so scared that he quickly backed down. In the center of the tomb, when Yunwu arrived, he didn't see the disabled everywhere. On the contrary, the city leaders of each town lived in a corner with their own teams, and they looked very close. Everyone's eyes are shining smart and greedy light, but everyone's eyes have a trace of fear, who did not take the lead to grab in front of things. The appearance of Cloud Dance immediately attracted all the city masters to turn their heads and look over. When they saw that there were only 2 people coming, their vigilance relaxed a lot. Gentlemen, this is not your place to come. Your battlefield is the rest of the tomb. The Lord Mu of Yulin took the lead. He started to see Cloud Dance before middle school, but now he has one more person, which is even more unpleasant. Besides, when he saw the 2 of them appear together, he thought it was Long Qingxie who betrayed his son. Oh. Is that right? Cloud Dance voice light says, that I slant to want to stay here, Yunai me. Yunwu's city master's eyes are fierce. He looks at Yunwu and wants to rush up to kill her. The atmosphere was the same as that of Mulan. Long Qingxie said in his heart, he is worthy of father and son. This jade card is originally a ownerless thing. Those who have the ability can get it, and we should not stop it. The exit is Huding in Hushi town. Seeing the appearance of Cloud Dance, he was very happy and immediately said. Yunwu felt the friendly sight of Huding and nodded to him. Sister Yun, you are walking too fast and tired. I'm so tired. At this time, Hua Linger and Xiaojiu appear breathlessly in the central square. Until Yunwu's side, Hua Linger finally stops. Worthy of martial arts. Small 9 voice just export, suddenly accept the Long Qing evil eyes, immediately changed the will export words, is worthy of the master, speed is faster than us. Long Qingxie squinted with satisfaction. Sister Yun, let's go to Dad. Hua Linger pulled Cloud's sleeve and said, tell him that you have found a friend. Cloud Dance nodded. Originally she planned to go to the team of Flint Town, now the appearance of Hua Linger, let her have a fair reason. Under the leadership of Hua Linger, several people went directly to the team of Hushi Town. Hua Ting saw this scene, and the joy on his face was more obvious. Dad, I'll bring Sister Yun and them here. Hua Linger runs the fastest and pours on Huding's body. She says happily, Sister Yun has found her friend, and she is also an expert. Huding's eyes lit up and looked at the 2 people who appeared around Yunwu, only to find that no matter the charming woman or the man in white, he could not see their realm. The Fire Ting heart is greatly surprised, at the same time more joyful. Such a team can kill almost any team on the scene. Even if they can't win the Jade Medal this time, if they can make friends with them, I'm afraid other towns will not care about Flint Town in the future. Congratulations to Miss Yun for finding her friend. Huding politely smiles at Yunwu. Cloud Dance lightly nodded and said, Fire City Master is polite, but there are several friends who are separated. Now what I have found is just one. When it's over, I'd like to ask Fire City Master to help me find the place nearby. Huding naturally is willing, originally also thought that oneself does not have the sufficient reason to let the Cloud Dance stand in own side. Now listen to, this reason directly sent to the door, at the moment directly straightforward smile, Miss Cloud, don't worry, it's wrapped in me. A few people here had a good talk, but the Muchengzu who just spoke couldn't see it anymore. Lord of Fire, what? Are you going to let these outsiders join us in the fight? City Master Mu's eyes are slightly cold. He looks at Huding, Yunwu and others walking so close. His attitude is quite polite, and he is alert immediately. The Lord of Mu is worried too much. Hwodong glanced at him and said coldly, Miss Yun is my friends in Huisher town. Naturally, you can help me in Huisher town. Yulin town doesn't have any foreign aid. What's the matter? Are you the only ones who can hire people in Yulin town, but not in Huisher town? You, the city master of Mu, stared at him, but he couldn't say a word. Hwodong, who is always steady and silent, is so impolite when he talks. The Lord of Mu City is still concerned about his team. Fireting finally said a word, directly shake hands to turn around, no longer more words, as if more and Mu City Lord said a word is an insult to himself in general. Hum. The Lord of Mu gave a cold hum and shook hands with Hwodong. However, when he did so, he seemed to be very annoyed and angry. He was no longer as smart as he used to be. Yunwoo's eyes were on the milky light in the middle. He turned his head curiously and asked Xiang Hwodong, is that your goal? How come they're all here and nobody's doing it? Hwodong immediately shook his head with a bitter smile and said, how can it be so easy? Although it looks soft, everyone has been here for so long, but no one can touch it, let alone take it away. Yunwoo didn't have a choice. Although she had guessed that it was not so easy to get, Hwodong's words made her even more surprised that it couldn't even be touched. When I first arrived here, the Lord of Mu City in Yulin Town rushed up directly. Who knows that the light directly shot him out. Later, several city masters wanted to have a try, but the result was no exception. Hwodong sighed, and then said, several city masters think that our strength may be too weak, so they unite to break the light together, and then win the jade medal with their own ability. However, when they unite, they find that the more powerful the attack is, the more powerful the white light is, and this method finally fails. Hiss! A hiss suddenly comes from Yunwoo's side, extremely clear, with strong irony. When Hwodong frowned, someone dared to show such an attitude in front of him, and suddenly looked at him with a bad look. The beautiful woman was looking ahead with a sarcastic look, and her lazy eyes swept around many city masters, but those who spoke in their own towns seemed to be unable to get into her eyes. Fireting in the heart of surprised, no oneself just looked down upon this woman, immediately put away dissatisfaction mood. Next, I heard the woman's sarcastic voice, with these Wuzong boys, do you want to break the test of jade metal? Isn't it too much of a stretch? Is it so easy to get the inheritance of the tomb owner? Hwodong's face was stiff. Hearing that, the woman seemed to know the grave very well. This what do you mean? Miss Hwodong asked, with a respectful attitude, without the airs of the city master. Small 9 corners of the mouth a hook, but looked to the front of the cloud dance, eyes with a trace of inquiry. Yunwoo nodded and motioned her to go on. Xiaojiu then said, this jade card is the key to the inheritance. Ordinary people can really use brute force to break that layer of protection and get the jade card and the powerful energy in the jade card, but the energy in the jade card is too huge. If he does not leave before the tomb is closed, he can only be trapped in the tomb. If he is there before he left, he couldn't take the jade card out of the grave. Just like those babies in the ear room, Xiaojiu and Yunwoo said before, so Yunwoo could understand it, but Hwodong directly asked, why don't you take it out? Small 9 whitey one eye, don't tell him the answer to the question, continue to say, only through the tomb test of talent can know the way to open the jade card, and through the tomb test is to get the tomb guardian beast recognition, become the next tomb owner. Before this, through the test of people are become inheritors. The guardian beast will tell the inheritor how to open it. The inheritor needs to use that method to open the 3-level test in the jade medal. If he doesn't open 1-level test, he can get a point of strength. Only if he passes all 3 levels can he really get the inheritance. As for other people who did not become inheritors but tried to get the jade medal, Little Nine's eyes flashed a touch of cunning, just like I just said, either stay in the tomb forever, or give up the jade card to leave the tomb. Fire Tenga listened, immediately disappointed a lot. Guardian beast? Inheritor? Where are they going to find the guardian animals? What's more, he doesn't know when the tomb will be closed. In that case, What if it is closed before the guardian beast is found? However, they have to use brute force to get the jade metal. Originally, only in this way can we have a fair and above-board life. Huolinger said thoughtfully, so it seems that her sister Yun is the inheritor. What's the test of becoming an inheritor? Where are the guardians? Huodeng asked with the last hope. Small 9-1 pair of soft eyes see toward Fire Tang, looked up and down for a long time, finally had a twist, said, don't think, you can't become the inheritor, you are not the summoner. Even if you become an inheritor, the 3 tests of jade will not open for you. Huodeng is completely desperate. It turns out that it's still a summoner. Who can do that? Cloud Dance on one side made a final mending to him, Little 9, what's the way to open the jade card? Well, let me see. Small 9 thoughtfully said, as long as the inheritor's blood drops on the white light, jade since you meet the requirements of the thunder system and space system, it will automatically carry out 3 tests. Ray system and space system. Huodeng is hit hard again. Even if the summoner wants to be a dual summoner, who can do that? But then I saw Cloud Dance Light said, so simple. Huodeng was stunned. After he was sure that he had heard it right, he looked at Yunwu and said, Miss Yun, it's easy to bleed, but the requirements of the dual summoner are not simple. If we are not summoners, we may be hit again. This words several people around immediately look at the Fire Tang as if looking at the monster. Even Huolinger. Fire Tang for a moment more muddled force, am I wrong? Cloud Dance did not answer his words, but directly expressed with action. Turn your head and look at the dragon. Dragon Qing evil mouth a hook, go, we are waiting. Yunwu nodded, then moved and walked towards the altar in the middle. Flint's sending people over again. Cloud Dance just walked to the front of the team, immediately a sharp-eyed person found her action. Isn't that the one who just came? It seems that I don't know the power of that thing. I want to go up and have a try. I don't know how far she will be hit this time. Hey, wait and see. She can't get it. The sound of discussion came from all directions, and almost all of them were waiting for the Cloud Dance to make a fool of themselves. In their opinion, they have tried all the methods. This newcomer is just going over the road they just walked. Young and frivolous. The Lord of Mu City looked at the figure of Cloud Dance and said coldly, it seems that Huodeng is not so good to her. Didn't he tell her just now? The people who followed on one side laughed at this. How can such a young woman really be impressed by Huodeng? How strong can she be? This remark is in the heart of the Lord of Mu City. At the moment, he looks at the man in praise, and then he is waiting for the next good play. Like everyone else, the dragon's evil spirits also have a sarcastic expression, but what they are sarcastic about is their ignorance. If you want to see Yunwu's jokes, you have to have that ability. This Linger, who is Sister Yun? How could she have known the conditions of becoming an inheritor, but still rush through like this? Huodeng finally regained his intelligence quotient and asked Huolinger, who had never spoken. Ah. Huolinger was stunned. He tilted his head and thought about it. He didn't know whether he should say it or not. Don't ask any more questions. You'll know later. Small 9 Lazy said. On the surface, the clouds are light, but in my heart, I'm worried about whether Yunwu can pass the test. I'm her summoner. If she can't pass the test, I'll stay in the grave. Moreover, she can't intervene in the test. Before the Cloud Dance said so many benefits must also be able to get after passing the test. Huodeng looked at the lazy and coquettish woman, and was silent. He had some idea in his heart, and looked forward to Yunwu's eyes. Finally, in the voices of the public, Yunwu came to the center of the altar and raised his hand in the expectation of the public. There was a breath in, and everyone held their breath, waiting for what happened next. Yunwu put his hand on the milky light, but he didn't catch the jade card abruptly. With a movement of heart, a wind element appears and turns into a tiny wind blade. A long and thin cut is made directly between them, and the red blood seeps out. What is she doing? Someone found something wrong and looked at Yunwoo's action as if he had confidence, which was totally different from the previous people. Master Mu's face sank down, and a bad premonition flashed in his heart. He felt that Yunwoo knew how to get the jade medal, but it was too late to stop it. That wipe exudes from the fingers of the bright red, and finally gathered into a drop, toward the group of milky white light in the drop. Mu City Lord pupil suddenly shrinks, in the heart not good premonition is too strong, quickly shout, fast stop her. Behind them, people rushed forward, and people from other towns besides Flint took action at the same time. Go and help Miss Yun. Stop those people, the fire leaps at the right moment. The person behind is about to move, small 9 languid voice spreads again, need not, already did not need. Huidong was surprised. On the altar, the bright red drops into the milky white light, and instantly dyed the light bright red. Then, just as before, the light bloomed again, but this time it was bright red. The whole square seemed to be dyed bright red, and those who tried to rush up to stop the cloud dance were blocked by the red light. As before, they were shot away again. This time, it was no longer the soft light that flew them, the red with overwhelming domineering, mercilessly bumped them into the surrounding walls. Yunwoo turns her head slightly and looks at the dragon with a confident smile. Then, the red light envelopes her figure. The next moment, the figure of Cloud Dance disappeared on the altar. The light converged, the light returned to its former appearance, as if nothing had happened. But the original won by one of those standing in order of the team at this time but fell to the ground, looking very embarrassed. Huidong was even more shocked and murmured, originally she's really the inheritor. Small 9 corners of the mouth a hook, also seemed to feel very honored in general. Unknowingly, Yunwoo has become his real master. Damn it, the master of Mu City climbed up from the ground and looked at the altar where there was no one. Then, he rushed directly to the altar. No. Lord Mu wants to monopolize it. Don't let him rob it. On one side, someone reflected what the Lord wanted to do and rushed up. Mu City Master's mouth starts to sneer and wants to catch up with him. It's a dream. Unless Huidong starts, none of the people present is his opponent. What if he can't fly directly? He runs faster than others. Fire Ting looked at the figure, hesitated to ask the side of the small 9, do you want to stop him? Small 9 sneer, he wants to die, why want to stop him? Hearing this, Huidong felt relieved. Between, that Mu City Lord quickly felt beside the jade plate, also learning the appearance of Cloud Dance, drew a line on the palm, red blood dripping down, into the light group. When the Lord of Mu City was looking forward to it, the red light broke out again. But it's not like the Cloud Dance before. This time, the light burst out and directly flew the Lord of Mu City. The red light mixed with space blades, as if to tear the Lord of Mu City to pieces. Lord Mu hastened to stir up the fighting resistance in his body, which made him feel better. But the red light is still attacking, and the barrier of fighting spirit seems to be unable to support for a long time. The Lord Mu's face is very ugly, so he has to retreat and resist with fighting spirit. This. Huidong looked at all this in shock. Those who have not become inheritors will be punished by the grave if they use this method. Small 9 coldly says. Fire Ting heart surprised, at the same time can't help but be glad that he and Cloud Dance stand in the same team, otherwise maybe he is now Mu City Lord's embarrassed appearance. Mu City Lord has been out of the scope of the square, and finally evaded the attack of the red light. When the red light completely disappeared, he came out again. At this time, he was very embarrassed. Where was the natural breeze in the past? His clothes were in a mess, and his hair was also in a mess. As soon as he appeared, all the people focused on him. The Lord of Mu City felt very shameful. This tomb is not so simple. He lost face twice in a day in this square. He wanted to tear down this place, but he knew that he didn't have that ability, so he had to swallow his pride. With the leader of Mu City, other people who wanted to go up to have a try also stopped and looked at the altar. Their eyes were full of pity. Why can that little girl go in? Can't we? Someone asked doubtfully. Is there any special requirement? People's eyes were on the Lord Mu again, as if they were thinking about the difference between him and Yunwu. The Lord of Mu's city felt the sight and became more angry. But the team in Huisher town has never said anything from the beginning to the end, and Huidong just avoided talking about some people's routine. Fire. You want to monopolize that jade? There's no way. I don't believe you don't know how to get in. Mu's city lord said coldly. The fire ting white he one eye, the small nine of one side is but can't help. Save it. What's the use of knowing the way? Only the summoner can enter the jade card space, and the purpose of blood dripping is to verify whether he is a summoner or not. As soon as Xiaojiu's words came out, the others were silent. What? I know it now. Does it work? The Lord of Mu's city didn't give up. Who are you? Don't talk nonsense here. The summoner doesn't exist for a long time. Why can the woman go in? Do you want to say she's a summoner? Xiaojiu looked at him like an idiot. Isn't the summoner obvious? There was an uproar. How can it be? Don't talk nonsense, you woman. How could she be a summoner when she was so young? Yes. Summoners don't exist long ago. How can you be so clear about this grave? Do you know anything else? Speak up. Otherwise, don't blame us for being rude to you. In the face of the temptation of the treasure, people can't bear it any longer. At this time, when they see little Nine like this, they immediately have her idea. Small Nine eyebrows a wrinkly, one step forward, cold vision swept all people, cold voice rang out, why do I know? I'll tell you now. After that, the huge nine tail suddenly spread out behind him, and the powerful momentum swept directly towards the crowd. This time, small nine directly opened nine tail of prestige. From the ancient momentum pressure all people are breathless, all people are shocked to look at her. This the beast. The main shock of Muching looked at the huge tail behind Xiaojiu, almost thinking that he was dreaming. She is the summoner of the Tomb Master. Someone found out the identity of Xiaojiu. Is it not obvious that you can have such a powerful force and be a god beast? Oh. Small nine sneer a, the voice is surprisingly cool. You want to know how to enter the Jade brand space? Then come on, I'll tell you if you win. In the forest. The whole team has been disabled, countless, dead and injured, just a simple escort task, unexpectedly involved in so many lives. Situ Lan turned to look at the old man who was covered with blood. Tian is definitely not a good man. He conceals that such a task is a very simple one. Looking at the tragedy in front of him, Situ Lan frowns, puts away his sword and turns to the parking place. There are not many people left in the motorcade. When the sun rises completely, the whole forest is in a mess, with blood splashing everywhere and scarlet. This makes Tian's face pale, and he almost falls down. He is supported by the bodyguard and sits on the side of the carriage. Most of the horses in the motorcade were also killed by wolves, and only a few of them were still surviving. They were very pitiful. I'm afraid it's a heavy loss this time. Tian sighed helplessly and turned to see Situ Lan with a bitter smile. I'm afraid the commission can't be cashed. No harm. Situ Lan waved his hand with a smile. Originally, I came out just to spread my mind and see. After all, money is only the second. After hearing this, Tian was relieved and patted Situ Lan on the shoulder with a smile. He turned his head and looked at the wounded and the disabled horses around him. He was sad. I've been in the mercenary business all my life, but I've been defeated in such a simple commission. After listening to him, Situ Lan was silent. He took out some of his dry food and gave him some. He turned to see the way he came and said, I'm afraid we can only go back the same way. Tian is very unwilling to look at the road when he comes. He seems to have a bad taste in his heart and frowns. So there is no way, a group of scattered can only go in the direction of the coming. It was in the afternoon, but the forest was not hot at all, and there was a light shade, so people around felt very comfortable. But Situ Lan felt very bad. He felt as if there was something around him. Although the wolves had left, they were still in a very unsafe situation. Tian didn't seem to feel it at all. On the way, he turned his head and stared at Situ Lan for a long time. Then he said slowly, "Little brother, when recruiting you, I just know you're not local, but I don't know where you come from." Situ Lan in the heart a burst of wry smile, shake head away, "I am by inexplicable transmission hereof, and friend walk away." Tian nodded clearly and looked up and down at Situ Lan. He looked gentle and handsome. He seemed to have good self-cultivation and felt that he should be a profitable man. Thinking about this, he asked curiously, "I don't know why you want to recruit, young Xia. Just to come out and relax?" Situ Lan looked around him. There must be something following him in the scenery around him, but it was too fast for him to notice. Suddenly, a dark shadow passed by. Situ Lan didn't respond at all, so he heard his clothes hiss, and was cut a big hole. Suddenly, his chest hurt deeply, and the blood flowed out along the wound and dyed his clothes red. "What is it?" The bodyguard and Tian around them were so scared that they didn't even see clearly. The people around them all yelled, terrified and talking. But Situ Lan was bitten by the wolf and dragged towards the forest. The teeth were deeply embedded in the meat, which made Situ Lan unable to break free. He beat the wolf's head with his fists wrapped with fighting spirit, but the wolf seemed unable to feel it. He continued to run forward. Situ Lan, who was dragged on the ground, was scarred all over. Tian stood in the crowd, looking at the direction of Situ Lan being taken away, pondering for a long time, coldly said, "We retreat." "Ah. Boss. Why? Why did you withdraw?" The young people around are anxiously looking at Tian and watching a man being taken away. They don't go to save people and let them run away directly, which is not in line with the quality of mercenaries. A few people protested to Tian, but the boss's order was too much. At last, no one dared to refute. They took back their swords and went home, only to find that they had gone deep into the forest. Situ Lan was taken to the forest and lost his way, but the wolf was still flying forward and didn't seem to stop. But Situ Lan was dizzy, covered with blood, and his clothes were in tatters. Beating the wolf's head ceaselessly, the wolf's head is bleeding, but it never let go. Obviously, among the wolves killed by itself, there are its children, so it is crazy. The long sword in his hand hindered his action, so that Situ Lan could only rely on the hilt, but the power of the hilt was too small. Suddenly, he had an idea. He put his legs around the wolf's neck. He gritted his teeth and endured the pain of the wound on his shoulder. He twisted his body. He held the wolf's neck in one hand and stabbed the wolf's stomach with a sword in the other. The long sword makes the wolf's belly open. The wolf is more angry, suddenly shakes his head, mercilessly throws Situ Lan forward. Situ Lan was thrown out for a long time and fell to the ground. He turned several somersaults before stopping. Gasping heavily, he wrapped his fighting spirit around his sword and stabbed at the wolf head. The wolf had red eyes, looked at Situ Lan's hoarse grin, saliva dripping down, with blood, bow body, mouth issued a threat of low roar. Looking around, Situ Lan was confused. He didn't know where he was. He gasped for breath and faced the monster in front of him. One man and one beast fell into a confrontation. No one dared to act rashly. The wolf's stomach is full of blood. It seems that there are intestines flowing out of it. The sword just now seems to do a lot of damage to the wolf, but it can't do it. Thinking about this, Situ Lan was not only relieved, but suddenly saw the wolf raise his head and howl at the sky. That long voice, through the jungle, came the echo, which made Situ Lan feel uneasy. This should be a wolf. Now it's going to die, so it's calling its companion to help itself. It seems that it will not give up until it dies today. Sure enough, soon, there was a large-scale running sound in the forest, running in one direction from all directions. Listening to the cries around, Situ Lan's face was like ashes. He raised his hand to chop the wolf to death. Seeing that there was no wolf coming, he sat down with his knees crossed and adjusted his luck. The sense organs were rapidly patrolling in the body, and could not see the feeling of breaking through, which made Situ Lan very troubled. On the one hand, he quickly repaired the injury of the meridians in the body, and on the other hand, he was wary of sensing everything in the forest. Countless wolves had gathered around him, wandering not far away, but they did not dare to move forward, because Situ Lan's aura was too strong. However, wolves are social animals after all. There are more and more wolves around, and they are ready to move at last. All the wolves began to gather together, in groups, slowly surrounded by Situ Lan. Situ Lan took a deep breath, quickly collected his breath, and quickened his pace to relieve the injury in his body. All of a sudden, a huge wolf sprang out of his side and suddenly tore at Situ Lan. Situ Lan quickly stood up and took up the long sword to stab the wolf. The wolf's momentum was so fierce that it couldn't stop at all. The hot blood ran through Situ Lan's face, but the wolf's eyes were red and he bit at Situ Lan's neck. Situ Lan quickly sidestepped to dodge and rode the sword forward. Just listen to the wolf howl. Plopped down to the ground, Situ Lan turned around, saw behind countless wolves, toward himself. In my heart, I knew that the mercenary team I was following had abandoned me. I couldn't help laughing bitterly. It's really a double whammy. But think about it, so many people's realm is too low, they have no way to protect them, maybe just a person like themselves, can still be alone. Shaking off the blood on the sword, Situ Lan wiped the blood on his face, turned around and stabbed the wolf next to him. Suddenly, there was a howl. But behind him, a wolf bit Situ Lan's leg hard and made him stagger and fall to the ground. His leg was bloody and he couldn't help shaking. These wolves were too difficult to deal with. Just thinking about it, countless wolves suddenly appeared in front of him. Almost at the same time, he rushed towards Situ Lan. Countless wolves attacked from front to back, left and right, which made Situ Lan unable to fight. He was suddenly knocked down by a wolf. The other wolves took the opportunity to come and bite. A white light flashed from his side, but Situ Lan didn't see clearly. Countless wolves all flew out. A man suddenly appeared around him, blocking himself behind him and fighting back the surrounding wolves. The man was dressed in white and looked like a scholar, but his power was amazing. As soon as the sword was thrown, there was a blood light on the ground, and the wolf's body had fallen to the ground. He turned his head to see Situ Lan, and his expression was indifferent. You really survived. He cut off a wolf, turned around and pulled up Situ Lan. Xiao ran. Situ Lan was surprised. The boy had been full of hostility to himself and suddenly became his savior, which made him a little flattered. I'm not going to save you. Xiao Ran stood in front of Situ Lan's body, gritting his teeth, and his pretty face was full of disdain and helplessness. If Sister Huanxiang didn't let me come here, I'd be too lazy to come here. You'd better die in this forest. Situ Lan had no choice but to smile bitterly. He was really a child with a bad temper, but he couldn't stand up at all because he was bitten by a wolf at this time, so he had to sit on the ground and use his luck to heal. Sister Huanxiang told you to go back quickly. Xiao Ran suddenly said, back to Situ Lan, can't hear the feelings. What happened? Situ Lan casually asked, closed his eyes, carefully adjusted his breath, but suddenly heard the person in front of him say, yes, Wenj Island has been split. Situ Lan was shocked suddenly in his heart. He opened his eyes in surprise and said, what did you say? How could it be in just a few days when I came out, so many things happened inside the island? Situ Lan was very surprised and felt that there was no big problem with his body. Then he stood up, holding a long sword, and Xiao ran back to back, defending the wolves flying up in front of him. Although Wenj Island has always been maintained by the Magic Fragrance Sister, many different factions still very much hope that Wenj Island will change its ownership. Xiao Ran said solemnly, raising his hand to cut off a wolf's head, shaking the blood on the sword, frowning again, and repeating the previous action. Now the magic fragrance elder sister doesn't know who's poisoned, now the situation is very urgent. The magic fragrance elder sister says that your realm is higher than us, you can help us. Help you? Situ Lan looked at these terrible wolves in front of him. Now I'm afraid I can't protect myself. I have to help you. I really look up to myself. With this in mind, the two people began to slaughter the wolves in a continuous cycle until the blood was already flowing in front of them. I said you, boy. Xiao Ran frowned and said, we are so kind to you. I believe you are not a person who does not know how to repay your kindness. The boy named Xiao Ran didn't like to hear what he said. Situ Lan thought so, but he didn't retort. He just said, let's escape first. Xiao Ran turned his head and glanced at him. He didn't retort, but said, where's the team you followed these days? They. Situ Lan lowered his head and gave a bitter smile, they abandoned me and ran for my life. Xiao Ran in front of him looked at Situ Lan silently and said, then they lost their way and were killed by wolves in the forest. Situ Lan was very surprised, but he didn't say anything. They were calm together to deal with the wolves. But we can't deal with wolves like this. Situ Lan said, after all, there are so many wolves in the forest that it's impossible to kill them. I'm afraid they will die in the end. So come with me later. I know where to get out of here. Xiao Ran said they killed a lot of wolves, and then they left quickly along the same road. However, the wolves were chasing behind and even in front of them. The two almost sped forward. Where are we now, and how far is it from the center of the island of Wingo? Situ Lan asked, galloping forward, trying to feel the state of the man before, but he was stunned. Was this man's state higher than himself, and he could not feel it, which surprised Situ Lan. We are still far from the center of the island, half an island away. Xiao Ran didn't look at Situ Lan and said. Before I knew it, I was carried so far by the wolf. I couldn't help feeling funny. Suddenly I remembered that at the critical moment just now, Xiao Ran told himself that he was poisoned by magic incense. He immediately became serious. You said before that you were poisoned by magic incense? Xiao Ran turned his head and glanced at Situ Lan with disdain. He said faintly, you finally remember. I thought you didn't care at all. How can we ignore the kindness of saving lives? Situ Lan raised his hand and cut off a wolf's head, but he was taken 2 steps, almost fell down, gasped for breath, and his face was pale. What's the matter? You tell me the details. It turns out that he was very sad to see Situ Lan leave the city with the mercenary team from Huanxiang that day. But in order to protect Situ Lan, plus some of his own selfish desires, he sent someone to follow and monitor Situ Lan. But no one thought that that night, the little maid from Magic Fragrance poisoned the food. And this little maid has been doing her best to assist from the Magic Fragrance side, also from the Magic Fragrance from the outside back to raise the child, so from the Magic Fragrance is very at ease. But no one could have imagined that this girl was Qing Changlao, the tribe of the tribe, who was placed in the eyeliner from the Magic Fragrance. The sudden damage scares Chuang Xiang. Then it comes out that Elder Cheng has begun to lead a large army and attack his own forces. The most unexpected thing is that he has a strong private army. On the other side. In the square, some people finally realized that they could not get the jade medal. Looking at the small 9 with 9 tails in front of her, there was only panic in her heart. Even Mu Chengzu is no exception. Mingming always stands at the commanding height. For the first time, he feels that he is so small. The next moment, the powerful 9 tails suddenly closed, and the pressure in the air also dispersed, as if what just happened was just a dream. It's just that the graceful figure standing in front of the team in Huisher town reminds everyone that everything just now is not an illusion. Now, do you have any questions? Xiao Jiu's lazy voice rang out. In fact, after being contracted by Yunwu, Xiao Jiu's strength was compressed in the realm of Emperor Wu. But at least it was also a supernatural beast in ancient times. There was still some pressure from the supernatural beast. After 9 tails, the pressure would come out without any disguise, so as to achieve the present effect. This time, no one raised any objection. Small 9 Cold Hum A turned to walk back to the team of Flint Town. Had it not been for her strength and prestige not to match and not to be seen, she would have done it long ago. In addition to Flint Town, people in the square could not help looking at each other, and finally someone quietly left the square. They all have the same idea: since they can't get the jade medal, they should hurry to search some treasures in other ear rooms of the tombs. It's also a worthwhile trip. One person left, followed by a second person, and eventually more and more, even left the majority. In addition to some people who are still trying to get some benefits when the cloud dance appears, others have all retreated. Lord, people around the Master of Moose City asked carefully. Stay. The Master of Moose City gritted his teeth and said, I don't believe it. That cloud dance just depends on the identity of the summoner. When she comes out, she will kill him. The jade medal is still ours. As soon as Macheng's words were finished, the people behind him could not help shivering. It was obvious that they were taboo about Xiaojiu's coercion, but because of Macheng's means, they could only stay obediently. On the other hand, Huidong directly listened to Xiaojiu's words, and knew that it was useless to search, so he simply ordered to go down and let everyone rush to the square to guard against the killers in Yulin Town at any time. There was chaos outside, but Yunwu and the test didn't know anything. From the beginning of being shrouded by the red light, Yunwu felt as if she had entered a unique space, surrounded by a very comfortable atmosphere, which was wrapped by strong wind elements and space elements. In this space, Yunwu feels that her body sucks those 2 elements fast. Where the hell is this? Is it the benefit of the tomb owner's stay? Cloud Dance is thinking in the heart. Although the owner of this tomb is really generous to his inheritors, it seems that he knows from leaving so many good things and not letting others take them away. But similarly, thinking of all kinds of secret weapons along the way, Yunwu can better understand the strict requirements of the tomb owner for the next inheritor. For such a big benefit, the next test will not be abnormal, will it? Cloud Dance mumbled a sentence. Clinker. Just after this sentence, another voice suddenly appeared in the void space. It's really a smart little girl. Xiaojiu has found me a good successor. He is broad-minded and full of zhongqi. Let people just listen to the voice, the mind came up with a kind-hearted old man. Cloud Dance Aleng, immediately look around, who? Little girl vigilance is good. Is the brain turns not fast enough. That voice sounded again, accompanied by, tut tut, too, but at least you are also the summoner of the whole department, and you have fighting spirit, which is very good. You can make up for this shortcoming. At this time, Yunwu finally understood that the source of the voice is not others, it is the owner of the tomb. You are the master here. Aren't you dead? Although it is a question sentence, but it is a positive tone. Yunwu is very sure about these 2 points. Haha, now it doesn't look stupid. That voice rings out again. Small 9 that wench poor also can choose a person for me, unexpectedly chose a whole department summoner for me, also don't owe me to hurt her in the weekdays. Cloud Dance curled his lips and said in his heart, your little 9 doesn't like me very much. Now that you have let me know your existence, why don't you show up? Cloud Dance asked. I don't have much energy left. Now is not the time to show up. Only when I really become my successor can I be qualified to see me. Now, just listen to me. The voice continued, and there was no surprise because Yunwu was the summoner of the whole department. From now on, you will be faced with 3 experiments. These 3 experiments are not difficult, but they are not simple, because you are still restricted by the prohibition of this tomb. Under this prohibition, maximize your strength and wisdom. I have left you many gifts, waiting for you to become the successor. Cloud Dance pursed her lips, waiting for the voice to disappear, did not say a word to retain. Because I know that the voice is just a wisp of consciousness left by the owner of this tomb. I can say what I should say, and I can't say what I shouldn't say. Next, I'd better think about how to face this experiment in front of a soft light, followed by cloud dance. You will find that the environment around you suddenly brightens up, the group of soft white light disappeared, and then appeared in front of the endless grassland. On the grassland, a lonely, occasionally breeze blowing bursts of wind, there is a faint rumble from the distance. This is the sound of the herd. Yunwu was slightly surprised. He took the sword in his hand and carefully identified the direction of the sound. He was ready to defend at any time. Sure enough, but a moment, in front of the dust, a dark piece of warcraft will continue to run toward the clouds, because the grassland is flat, so far away you can see. Yunwu raised her ears and listened carefully. It seems that there are more than one group. That said, the other four directions also suddenly appeared a large number of warcraft group, and the first batch of the same, has been running towards the cloud. Yunwu squinted, looked at the herds from all directions, and murmured, "It seems that the test this time is these herds." Ferocious herds came from all directions, with the ferocity of tearing the clouds to pieces. The footsteps of the herds roared, mixed with tens of thousands of heavy gasps. Just from the momentum, it gives people a strong pressure. Yunwu clenched the sword in his hand and squinted at the front. With a hook in the corner of his mouth, he didn't wait for the herd to arrive and rushed forward. Even with the suppression of the tomb, her speed is still very fast. With this move, she instantly shortens the distance between herself and the herd in front of her. Originally should be located in the center of the herd in all directions, she instantly disrupted the speed of the herd, so that the center of gravity of the whole encirclement circle shifted with her. But Yunwu didn't care about the warcraft around her. Her eyes were burning with a strong sense of war. She only saw the warcraft in front of her, which was the size of an elephant, but looked like a rhinoceros. The speed of cloud dance reached the extreme, and it directly flashed to the nearest warcraft. The black flame sword on the hand flickered, and the black flame kept jumping on it. When the hand picked up the knife, it directly wiped to the neck of the warcraft. Why? Cloud dance light ea, some surprised saw the place that oneself start a hand one eye. With the sharpness of the ancient sword, it's natural to deal with warcraft. But now this warcraft, his knife has been really wiped on its neck, but only left a not deep trace. This warcraft. Cloud Dance looked at it carefully. Before he had time to take a close look, he suddenly threw a slender tail from behind, which was as fast as lightning. Cloud Dance quickly turned over and jumped to the back of another warcraft, and then found that the warcraft she stepped on looked like a platypus. Now, Yunwu finally understands what is the key to this battle. The difficulty is not to kill these warcraft, but to quickly distinguish the weakness of these warcraft when fighting, and find the way to deal with them with the fastest speed. For a moment, Yunwu felt that the owner of the tomb was really well-intentioned. If I can get through this, I'm afraid that my judgment and combat effectiveness will be improved a lot in the future. And the number of these herds is so large, their physical fitness will also be trained. Since it's a stepping stone, I'll take it in politely. Cloud Dance the corner of mouth a hook, cold voice says. Although his mouth is not polite, he has been cautious in his heart for a long time. He quickly identifies the weaknesses of each warcraft and improves his own speed to the extreme. He starts to kill each warcraft under his own knife. Big and slow warcraft often have high defense, so Cloud Dance will directly destroy their eyes, focus on their joints, and waste their mobility. For fast and weak warcraft, Cloud Dance will directly fight in close quarters. Each kind of warcraft Cloud Dance has the right medicine to the case, and the effect is really excellent when fighting. The world's martial arts only fast, Yunwu found himself more and more handy in the battle. The overwhelming herd almost drowned the clouds, and all the warcraft rushed to the most central place like a whirlpool. However, all the warcraft seemed to enter the meat grinder, and soon became corpses. Despite this, there are still countless herds here to see death as if at home. The speed of Cloud Dance battle is faster and faster, more and more warcraft are fallen around, and more kinds of warcraft are seen. At first, it was a little hard to deal with. Later, there was no problem in dealing with these warcraft. Yunwoo had more time to think about it. They're all warcraft that I haven't seen before. It seems that they came from ancient times. Cloud Dance thought in the heart. The strength and insight displayed by the owner of the tomb were so huge that she even began to look forward to what good things the owner of the tomb had left to her heirs. The battle is still going on. Yunwoo seems to be killing the warcraft around him. Piles of corpses appear on the grassland. Only when Yunwoo doesn't listen can he change his position to make a vacancy around him. After the battle, Yunwoo looked around and found that the number of warcraft around him was still increasing. In the distance, it seemed that there were warcraft coming here. Why so much? Yunwoo frowned. If we say that these warcraft are all the warcraft spirits collected by the tomb owner, how can they be so many? If it's a mirage, but the current scene doesn't look like a mirage at all. Yunwoo reminds herself to have a try and find that everything is true. There must be other ways to crack this level. Cloud Dance says with squinting eyes. Thinking constantly in the mind, the action on the hand is non-stop, still constantly killing groups of warcraft. All of a sudden, Yunwoo seemed to find something and looked around. Although there are many kinds of warcraft around, they all look the same size as ordinary animals, and there is no such huge existence as Little Stink. Yunwoo guessed that maybe it was because the tomb owner deliberately controlled it, and no matter how you look at it, there are only 4 kinds of warcraft. The 4 categories are elephant, snake, bird, and cat. Most of the elephants are different in appearance, but they are of the same size as elephants. They look like warcraft hybridized by elephants and other races. They are slow, have brute force and strong defense. Snakes are mostly poisonous. Birds include all kinds of birds, ranging from cranes and peacocks to chickens, ducks and geese. The attack is not strong, but very fast. Finally, cats, tigers, leopards, jackals all have, the speed is average, but the attack is very strong. They seem to attack in a disorderly way, but it seems that each warcraft has its own task, and each time it surrounds the cloud, there are basically 4 warcraft, which just occupy the 4 categories. Do they still have a leader? Yunwoo thought, squinting. Then Speed sighed, directly toward the front. Dare to go, all the way to meet the attack is not in a hurry to kill them, in the protection of their own at the same time fly fast toward the front, in the eyes of what is searching around. There must be something strange, there must be. Cloud Dance in the heart affirms of say. Finally, in the field of vision of Cloud Dance, we've finally found something different. That is as like as 2 peas, the animal is bigger than the warcraft beside us. It is even bigger than the biggest elephant seen by the Cloud Dance. It looks exactly like a wild elephant. Compared with those who looked like hybrids before, this one is obviously more pure. I found it at last. Cloud Dance mouth a hook, without hesitation toward the biggest warcraft rushed. In the twinkling of an eye, it was in front of the warcraft. It seems that warcraft didn't expect the cloud ball to rush directly in front of him. Unexpectedly, Yunwoo jumped directly on himself, and the pride of the king came out of him. Yunwoo's move directly aroused his anger. A roar rang out, at the same time, the warcraft 2 front feet heavily raised, in an attempt to Cloud Dance from the back down. The figure of Cloud Dance is very weak compared with this warcraft. Well, you want to kill me? Dream. With a cold hum of Cloud Dance and a lift of his left hand, the 5 color elements are directly condensed into a dagger with a peculiar shape in his hand. The blade of the dagger is curved and looks like a barb, and the tip of the dagger is shining. Then, Yunwoo thrust the dagger into the body of warcraft. The sharpness of the dagger made of 5 elements is comparable to that of the ancient sword. Although the barb can't cause too deep wound when it pierces into the body of warcraft, it is directly hooked on the back of warcraft because of its peculiar shape. Roar! Warcraft roared, as if suffering from great pain, his feet fell heavily on the ground, causing a strong shock. Taking advantage of this moment, Yunwoo turns his right hand and puts the black flame sword away directly. Then, he turns over and jumps directly to the head of warcraft. The fire element of his right hand turns into a dagger and directly inserts it into the eyes of Warcraft. Originally suffered the huge pain of Warcraft at this time more unbearable, scream up. Around the Warcraft who see this look, rushed up to help the king. Although Yunwu is fighting with the king of beasts, he doesn't forget to observe the surrounding environment. When he sees the Warcraft coming up, he immediately reacts and jumps to avoid. In the end, no attack falls on him. However, the attack on her hand was never stopped. Hands constantly rolling, leaving scars on the body of the Warcraft, every joint is abandoned by the cloud dance, first the limbs, then the spine, and finally the head. When the Beast King had no backhand power, Yunwu directly condensed the 6 elements together, turned them into a slender dagger and inserted them directly into the top of the Beast King's head. Roar dash, another roar, but this time, it was the cry of death. The King of Beasts wailed and finally fell heavily on the ground. A circle of Warcraft around him retreated one after another. The weapon on the top of the Beast King's head was then transformed into 6 elements and dispersed. A king of beasts fell down, and the elephant Warcraft in the herd scattered one after another. Without the king's command, they did not need to continue to attack. 1. Solved. Cloud Dance looks at the fallen Beast King and says coldly. Then, without waiting for other Warcraft's attack to arrive, he rushed directly to the next direction. She knew that she had to wipe out all the King of Beasts one after another, and that was the only way to pass. As Yunwu expected, there are 4 Beast Kings here. When the last Warcraft that looks like a phoenix falls down, the last Warcraft on the grassland also disperses. How did it come from at first? Now it disperses along the same way. Yunwu stands in front of Qingshan's corpse, panting slightly, and doesn't go to catch up to see how these Warcraft come from and why there are so many. The next moment, the scene in front of a conversion, it once again returned to the original soft white environment. Yunwu originally looked around with some expectation, but then the voice rang again. Don't look. I just passed the first level, but I'm not qualified to see you. It's still a kind voice and tone, but I don't know why. It sounds like Yunwu still wants to beat him. Cloud Dance curled his mouth and felt his physical strength recovering in the soft white light around him. Not only that, their own consumption of power is also rapidly recovering. I didn't expect that you were very smart. I thought you would not know the level until you killed all the Warcraft. The voice said approvingly. But then the tone changed, but it's nothing. After all, it's the simplest of the 3 levels. If you want to be my successor, you can't do it with such a little ability. What was the first level just now? How can there be so many Warcraft? Can't you cultivate them all by yourself for such a long time? Cloud Dance asks curiously. You can't see that. The voice was quite proud and said, you can't cultivate so many Warcraft by yourself, even if it takes a long time. Don't you see that there are endless Warcraft? Cloud Dance frowned. It's not self-cultivation, is it? You grasp it? Otherwise is that grassland just a mirage? It's not a mirage. The voice said, it's half an illusion at most. Half a mirage? Cloud Dance frowned. What do you mean? That space is an independent space made by me using space elements. Although it looks endless, there are still borders, even less than 1/10 of the size of the world you live in. And those Warcraft are using a treasure called Yin-Yang Mirror. As long as you put the 4 Beast Kings in it, you can constantly copy the same kind of Warcraft as the Beast King, and then let them hybridize with each other. Finally, there are more and more kinds of Warcraft. What's more, I have copied some Warcraft from other places and put them in copy. Cloud Dance is quite surprised to say, unexpectedly still have such thing. Can you replicate living things? Naturally. The voice said, it's just that the things copied by this mirror are more discounted than the main ones, whether it's body shape or strength, so it's so easy for you to fight. I will put the Yin and Yang mirror into the space, you can see the nature is endless, a steady stream of Warcraft. As for those you killed, don't worry. Soon, The mirror will copy them and become the new king of beasts. Yunwoo's eyes are brighter. After listening to this person's introduction, Yunwoo is very interested in the yin-yang mirror. If she can become the inheritor, then the yin-yang mirror will be her own. Girl, don't patronize the surprise. I have high requirements for inheritors. If you can't get through it, you can't get my things. The voice seemed to see the Cloud Dance mind, can't help but say. Cloud danced to the front of the voice source White One Eye, said, your request is very high, but he has been hiding from no one. Ha ha ha. The voice seemed to be amused and gave out a hearty laugh. Well, since you want to see me so much, I will promise you. If you can pass the following level, I will let you see me in the third level. Cloud Dance eyebrows slightly pick, originally just casual talk, clinker this person really should. But then, what he said surprised Yunwoo. Girl, you must still have some people in your heart. The voice suddenly became serious, as if to see through the psychology of Cloud Dance. The Cloud Dance is a Leng, in the mind immediately emerged Shengguan, Nangong etc. figure. I've been looking for them all these days. If I care about them most, it's them. But what does this have to do with breaking through the barriers? In one's life, there are many hurdles to pass. The hurdle you break now may also be the hurdle you want to pass in your life. The sound was long. Yunwoo frowned and couldn't understand what it meant. What do you mean by that? The voice did not answer, but still said, if you want to be a real hero, you can't just rely on brute force. At the critical moment, you have to have love and righteousness. If you have love and righteousness, you will be a real hero. If you have no love and righteousness, even if you are famous forever, you are just a generation of heroes. After you die, you don't know what future generations will talk about you. What are you trying to say? Why are you talking about other people? Cloud Dance some urgently asked away. The man seemed to have finished what he wanted to say at last. After a moment's silence, he finally said, when you pass the second level, you will understand. The second test is the word emotion. The sound gradually lengthened, and finally slowly dissipated, and the soft white light around changed again. Cloud Dance in front of a sudden fog, let her can't help covering her eyes with her hands, eyebrows slightly wrinkled, until in front of a gust of wind, the thick fog blown away, this will be in front of all see clearly. But the scene in front of her suddenly changed her face. In front of us is a desolate battlefield, with broken walls and ruins. The sound of wailing is full of ears. Cloud Dance sees that there are still a few people fighting, and the blood has dyed the sand on the ground. Every step seems to feel the cry and cry of the dead. This made her clench her teeth and walk towards the place with blood and smoke in front of her with Guwu's sword. Blood-red shoes, fishy sweet taste instantly pierced the senses, let her eyes a red, almost retching. But she took a deep breath and stifled the surging in her stomach. Her eyes were red. Who made such a terrible battlefield? Little dance, little dance. Around, suddenly came a very familiar voice, let Cloud Dance suddenly a Leng, back to God. Behind him, in the middle of a piece of blood and body, a bloody thing suddenly moved, let Cloud Dance heart sink, who is this person? I know myself. Hurried forward, but saw that the bloody man, grinning at her. Although I couldn't move, I looked very happy, Xiao Wu, Kiki, I didn't expect to see you again before I died. Then he coughed up a big mouthful of blood. Cloud Dance is greatly surprised, quickly squat down, Meng Bai. How could it be like this? Finally see clearly, originally this poor in dead person heap, whole body is stained with blood, completely can't see the face of person, unexpectedly is Meng Bai. This let Cloud Dance in the heart a burst of anxious, quickly pulled Meng Bai's hand, will a fighting spirit into Meng Bai's body. Suddenly, his face was even whiter, and his broken meridians were already unable to return to heaven. How could this happen? Xiao Wu, don't go any further. Meng Bai tightly holds Yunwu's hand. His broken body has made his hands tremble powerlessly, but he smiles and is very happy. Anyway, it's so good to see you. Don't go any further. I keep my last breath. I know you will find us and want to tell you the danger ahead. Frowning, Cloud Dance pursed her lips and looked at Meng Bai. Her sad voice was hoarse. You mean, since you and I separated, you were sent here? We met by chance around here, but then we went to hell. Meng Baishan laughed and coughed up another mouthful of blood. It seemed that there were still internal organs in the blood. His breath began to float up gradually, and his face was suddenly gray. Where is this, and why is it like this? Cloud Dance looked at the front of a smoke-filled with hazy battlefield, did not understand how this is going on. Don't go there, please. Meng Bai's voice suddenly became smaller, and then, his eyes were in a trance. Suddenly he tilted his head and lost his voice. Yunwu's heart suddenly seemed to be bombed, and a burst of unspeakable sadness and anger suddenly made her bloody. He quietly puts Meng Bai's body on the ground from the corpse pile. Yunwu grits his teeth and holds back the tears that are about to gush. He holds Guwu's sword tightly and walks forward. In front of him, a group of familiar figures in black suddenly appeared in front of Yunwu, which made Yunwu's face suddenly changed. It turned out that they were from Wanwoman. Gritting his teeth, he picked up the big knife and ran towards a team of people and horses in the Beast Gate. In front of the people of the Beast Gate, it seems that they didn't put her in their eyes at all, but one of them turned around and clapped at Yunwu. Suddenly, Yunwu felt that his chest hurt as if he had been hit by a huge stone, and his whole face turned pale. Suddenly, a pair of hands around her grasped her arm. Suddenly surprised, Yunwu almost did not hesitate to lift the hand of Guwu Dageo, toward the hand's cut. But suddenly I heard a weak voice beside me, with smile and pain, trembling and saying, Xiao Wu, it's me. Cloud Dance almost collapsed. This person is not Shengguan or Hu. He quickly stopped the sword, and without saying a word, he took Shengguan's hand and filled it with fighting spirit. Shengguan's mouth burst out with blood. He gritted his teeth and held Yunwu's hand in his backhand. He said, Xiao Wu, don't waste your strength. I can't do it anymore. Yunwu pursed her mouth, and her dry eyes almost burst into tears. Seeing her good friend like this, she couldn't help but control her feelings. But looking at this desolate place, she held back, looked at the red sky, and thought in her heart, originally, is it such a cruel fact that I have to pass the test? Xiao Wu, don't go any further. Everyone is dead. You must live well. Shengguan took a breath, raised his hand with a smile, and seemed to want to hold Yunwu's hand. But I haven't touched it yet. The brilliance in my eyes has disappeared in an instant. Before I can close my eyes, I've been leaning down beside Yunwu. Keep going. Yunwu said to himself, holding back tears. He closed Shengguan's eyes with his hands, closed his eyes, raised his head and swallowed his tears. Yunwu looked forward and saw a man standing in front of him in the red sky. His sword was dyed with bright red blood, reflecting the blood light, and his white clothes were stained with mottled blood. He turned his head, pale face suddenly raised a faint smile, small 5. Cloud Dance only feels dizzy for a while, and walks towards Nanganji, getting closer. Nanganji without veil has seen it. But such a thrilling look still made Yunwu confused. Nanganji, you tell me, you. Before the words fall, Nangong-yi suddenly falls down on Yunwu, and her blood suddenly dyes her clothes, which makes her suffocate again. Nanganji. Yunwu and Nanganji fall on the ground together, holding Nanganji's body. Cloud Dance was stunned for a long time. What kind of test is this? What test do I have with the death of my companion? Yunwu feels confused in her heart. Nanganji's body trembles slightly in her arms. She turns her head and sees Qi Yi's corpse not far away. Her eyes without focus are not far ahead. Yunwu felt that her heart would be pulled out. How could that be? The clouds murmured. He raised his hand and touched Nanganji's body, and his heart was still beating. He shook Nanganji hard. Wake up. Don't sleep, You tell me what happened. Nanganji, lying in her arms, breathes quietly without any movement. The blood on the ground dyed the whole world red. How cruel it is. Cloud Dance purse's mouth, contained tears, embraced South Palace flurried for him Du Qi to adjust breath. For a long time, Nangang finally breathed and opened his eyes. Are you better? Yunwu felt that her breath was painful. Why are you here? Why are they all like this? Are you all attacked by the beast gate? Nangang coughed twice, raised his hand to wipe the blood from the corner of his mouth, with a faint smile. Xiao Wu, you'll have to be good alone in the future. We can only accompany you here. Cloud Brain, a burst of roar, chest pain, let her suddenly eject a mouthful of blood. Who is it? Who is it? A burst of anger in Yunwu's heart rushed to the top of her head, making her whole person full of murderous spirit. The vast desert ahead was full of murderous spirit. Yunwu saw the man in black rushing towards this side from the end of the desert ahead. Nangang suddenly stood up, holding a long sword in front of Yunwu. Xiaowu, you go quickly, I'll deal with it here. Spit out a mouthful of blood, the wound seems to be very serious. Yunwu rushes forward and blocks Nangang behind him. He looks at countless people who are getting closer and closer and says, you concentrate on healing, I'll resist. A nameless anger in her heart suddenly ran to the top of her head, which made her hot in the brain. Her eyes were red, and she rushed to the people in front of the beast gate dressed in black with a knife. The big knife slashed at the people of the beast gate, and the blood flew everywhere. The cloud danced and grinned, and the smile was ferocious. I felt very comfortable at the moment when I got up and fell. There was a moment of confusion and hesitation in Yunwu's heart, and then the joy from the killing made her forget everything, and countless flesh and blood flew between the rise and fall of the ancient dance sword. So has been endless killing, blood infiltration on the ground, the sand infiltration, gradually wet clothes. Cloud Dance looks back behind him. Nangang is also behind him, fighting against the people coming from behind. The two people, who have been soaked in blood, step back and gradually lean together. The killing made both of them red eyes. Yunwu made a strange laugh in his mouth. He raised his hand and quickly cut off the head in front of him. The blood was extremely warm. Yunwu opened his eyes wide and looked at the hell-like scene in front of him. Suddenly, his pupils suddenly narrowed. This kind of killing intention from his heart was never seen before. However, when Yunwu turns her head and sees her friends fall on the bloody ground one by one, her anger suddenly comes up, which makes her lose her mind. Her eyes are red like blood. She raises her hand and cuts off her predecessor's head. Suddenly, Cloud Dance is in a trance again. What's the matter? This strong feeling of wanting to kill must be abnormal, but his hand has been chopped at the person in front of him. Suddenly, he fell into a crazy fight. The more I fight, the more strange I feel. I've never been so irrational. Suddenly I see that Nangang has chased him and fought side by side with him. The blood has dyed his white clothes red. The bloody Nangang makes Yunwu very confused. Little Dance, be careful. Nangang said, but Yunwu saw Nangang face, clearly, without a trace of emotion, clearly without a bit of anger. There is no light in the eyes of the man around. Cloud Dance's heart suddenly moved, seemed to understand what, lightly should didn't speak, but secretly will fight gas package whole body meridians. For a moment, her mind was clear. She vomited and turned to Nanganji. But Nanganji also turned to look at her, smiling. Nanganji with scarlet color on her face suddenly had a trace of ferocity. Yunwu seemed to understand something for a moment. She turned her head and looked around. Suddenly, I found that I could hardly see anything except the red sky and the smoke of war. Did those people come out of the smoke? More and more feel wrong. Cloud Dance looked forward, as expected, in front of the smoke. Suddenly appeared countless people in black, toward two people. Behind the smoke, it was still like a thick fog. It was hard to see where the man in black came from. He frowned slightly, raised his hand and slashed hard. He turned his head and looked at Nan Gongyi. The man around him had a strange smell all over his body. Fighting spreads all over the body. Yunwu and Nanganji fight side by side. Yunwu quietly perceives the realm of Nanganji, but finds that she can't feel anything. Suddenly start a cold sweat, Cloud Dance face pale, so to say, this person around, must not be Nan Gongyi. So take advantage of the chaos in front of the large black man, suddenly turned around, toward the South Palace cut. Nan Gongyi seems to hear the sound of machetes. When he turns around, he looks at the clouds in confusion. At that moment, Yunwu was in a trance. He was stunned for a long time. Then he gritted his teeth and slashed at Nanganji's neck. Little dance. Nan Gongyi's eyes are slightly open. He is very surprised. He just looks at the big knife and cuts at himself. Cloud Dance also opened big eyes, he does not dodge. Want to stop hand, but already too late, big knife towards South Temple Yi's neck chop go. Nan Gongyi almost instinctively dodges to one side, and a purple fighting gas gushes out of his body, which instantly resists Yunwu's attack. But the powerful force still makes Nan Gongyi step back 2 steps, and raises his hand to block the attack, leaving a big hole in his hand. Are you cloud dancing or not? Nan Gongyi frowned slightly and held his arm. The blood flowed down his arm and dyed his bony fingers red. Cloud Dance is in a trance for a while, how to return a responsibility. Just now, I clearly felt that this person was not Nanganji, but with this attack, Yunwu suddenly felt the realm of Nanganji and saw the fighting spirit of Nanganji. Now even the details of Nanganji have been known thoroughly. Nanganji. Cloud Dance frowned, gently called lowered his head to think for a while, suddenly said, Nanganji, so long time no see, I miss you, I love you. Nan Gongyi heard this sentence, a faint smile, the corners of his mouth with a gentle smile, Xiaowu, you don't believe in life. Shocked raised his head, Cloud Dance looking at in front of Nan Gongyi, finally vomited a breath. If you say that, it should be right. It's this person, but why does Nanganji feel so strange? Holding Nan Gongyi's hand, Yunwu plans to get rid of his doubts for a while. Looking around, there is a mess that has been killed, and no one in black attacks him again. So he helps Nan Gongyi sit down and bandages his wound. Nanganji, tell me how you met, how you got together, and what happened here. Cloud Dance said. Nan Gongyi lowers his head, looks at Yunwu tearing off his clothes, bandaging Nan Gongyi, and looks up at Nan Gongyi. In a smoky desert, both of them sat here quietly, and no one spoke. For a long time, Nan Gongyi finally sighed and laughed bitterly, we are all scattered everywhere. After suffering, I met Shengguan by chance, and then we looked for other companions together. Turning to look at the barren desert, his eyes were unspeakable bitterness, but everyone who finally met is here, falling apart. With a long sigh, Nan Gongyi's eyes are full of deep despair. Yunwu has never seen such Nan Gongyi. Don't be sad. Cloud Dance said. But Yunwu was not sad. She pursed her mouth, looked down at her hand, and said, who put you here? Nan Gongyi lowered his head, pondered for a while, and then said, it's the man of the Beast Gate. Beast Gate? Cloud Dance is very puzzled. What's the situation in the clouds? How can the people of the Beast Gate appear here? Does it mean that the one who wants to test me is the one who kills the Beast Gate? To hide the doubts in my heart, Yunwu looked at the endless desert ahead and murmured, in front, how far can we go to the end? Nan Gongyi also shook his head hard, and his eyes were bitter. There must be people from the Beast Gate ahead. Yunwu stood up, holding the sword tightly in his hand, and turned to Nanganji, let's go forward. I want to see what place it is. Nan Gongyi nodded and walked forward side by side with Yunwu. Waves of sand in the desert, blowing to the two people's faces, so that they cannot open their eyes, bitter sand with a bloody taste. It seems that this is a battlefield that has been fighting for a long time. Countless broken halberds that have been weathered, and countless soldiers that have become skeletons, make Yunwoo feel sad again. She looks behind her. In front of the desert, there are still bodies of her friends buried, but she can only move forward. Let's go. The blood on the two faces had dried up and caked. Their clothes were as hard as if they were wearing a layer of armor. I don't think it's normal here. Yunwoo said, I feel that it looks like an array here. After all, it seems that there is no place for these people. Nangong-yi didn't speak. He just went on. He seemed to be listening to what Yunwoo said, but he didn't. Do you think we can get out alive? Nangong-yi took a cold breath, narrowed his eyes and looked ahead. The third eye on his forehead was opened by him and looked ahead for a long time. He said, there seems to be a huge palace ahead. Cloud Dance's eyes suddenly have light. This boring desert, finally is about to come to an end. Two people hobble, obviously tired to death, toward the unknown direction in front of the desert. Has been in so long, Yunwoo looked up at the sky, a fuzzy round day is still on top of his head, faintly emitting light. That round day has been in this direction, no matter which direction he goes. That's strange. Cloud Dance frowns and turns to look at Nangong-yi, who is still walking with his head down. Did you find that the sun in the sky is really weird? Cloud Dance said, and then gradually see in front of the roof of the house, in the yellow endless desert, appears unusual abrupt. Well? Nangong-yi turns around in doubt and looks at Yunwoo. His eyes are full of doubts. He doesn't know what Bai Yunwoo was saying just now. Look at the sun, it's always in the same direction, no matter which way we go. Look at the sun. Sure enough, the direction above my head has not changed at all, while at my feet, there is only a dot left in my shadow. Gradually close to the huge palace, Cloud Shocked gradually opened his eyes. The palace was too big to be seen at a glance, and the towering roof was full of death and dusk. It seems that we are far away. Yunwoo said, looking at the palace in front of him, it seems to be as high as the sun, which makes Yunwoo take a breath. But Nangong-yi frowned and slowed down. Yunwoo finally feels that something is wrong with Nangong-ji. Turning around, she sees that Nangong-ji has stopped and is not far away from her. What's the matter? Cloud Dance picks eyebrow to see the direction of South Palace very doubt, quickly walk. But Nangong-yi frowned, looked at his feet, and said nothing. Yunwoo turns and walks towards Nangong-ji strangely. He turns and looks at the palace immediately behind him. Then he looks at Nangong-ji, what's the matter? Are you not feeling well? Sure enough, after finishing this sentence, Yunwoo suddenly sees Nangong-yi's face pale, covering his chest and sweating. I can't go. Nangong-yi's eyes suddenly flashed a fluster. Although it passed quickly, it still fell in Yunwoo's eyes. Why can't we pass? Yunwoo looks at Nangong-ji strangely and suddenly raises her hand to Nangong-ji. But Nangong-yi in front of him was suddenly surprised. He threw away Yunwoo's hand and stepped back 2 steps. He lowered his head and gave a bitter smile, because I can't walk now. Biting his teeth and taking a deep breath, Nangong-yi seems to be a little flustered, with panic in his eyes, looking at the huge palace behind him from time to time. But Nangong-yi's face never appeared such expression. Cloud Dance's heart has been in doubt. But this flustered person in front of him is not Nangong-yi. Nangong-yi's face will never show this kind of flustered expression. Who are you? Why do you want to look like Nangong-ji? Yunwoo's hand is shaking. She is a little afraid. If this person is not Nangong-yi, who is it? This desolate place, such a person who has been with us all the time, is not the best friend I think, which makes Yunwoo feel chilly. Xiao Wu, why don't you know me? Nangong-yi frowned and raised his hand. It seemed that he wanted to touch Yunwoo, but Yunwoo waved it away. This place is really weird. Cloud Dance thought, looking at in front of Nangong-yi eyes suddenly appear a heavy kill. This let Cloud Dance heart a burst of tension, don't think, toward the so-called Nangong-yi cut in the past. Finally, the man in front of him grinned and suddenly turned into a white thing, flying towards the clouds like a spirit. Cloud Dance is scared to step back several steps, lift the big knife of ancient Wu to cut toward the white spirit body. The spirit flew up, and then forced to the Cloud Dance. The speed was so fast that the Cloud Dance didn't have time to react, so it was penetrated by the white spirit. Suddenly feel the blood boiling, turning up, spit out a mouthful of blood. Looking up at the tall palace ahead, Yunwoo clenched her teeth, turned over and flew towards the palace. The speed was so fast that the white spirit behind didn't react. By the time of reaction, Yunwoo had been far away from here. So the spirit body chased up in the direction of Cloud Dance. The spirit body is the spirit body after all. It has no physical ties, so it is very fast. In a twinkling of an eye, it has already arrived at Yunwoo and rushed to Yunwoo. Yunwoo looked at the palace in front of him. He recalled that the spirit body had said that he could not go any further. It seemed that this place was restrained by the spirit body. He made up his mind to run towards the palace, which was still far away. It's still a long way from the palace. Yunwoo finds that countless white spirits are floating around. Some of them have been imitated as human beings, while others are still in spiritual state. They all look at Yunwoo. The greed in their eyes makes Yunwoo shiver. What strange things these are. Yunwoo speeds up and flies towards the front gate of the palace. Sure enough, when it was 20 or 30 meters away from the gate, the spirit bodies around it suddenly became clean and nothing was left. This can't help but let Cloud Dance vomit a breath, pressure heart turn gush to the blood in the throat. Suddenly feel the whole hall of strong pressure hit, let her a burst of suffocation, dizziness, bite the tongue, sharp pain let her wake up. But I saw that in front of me was a circular hall. In the center of the hall, there was a circular altar hanging in the air. Around the altar, there were a total of 12 pillars, each of which was bound with a person. These people were all wrapped in white spirit bodies and could not see clearly. However, it made Yunwoo frown and move on. Just in front of the circular hall, there is a door. The door is slightly open, and there is cold air flowing out. Yunwoo shakes all over his body. He quickly wraps his fighting spirit around his body, and carries his sword behind him. He is on guard. Little 5. In the main hall, someone called her suddenly, and the echo started around the beam. A long time has not gone, one voice has not been cut off, another voice rises again. Hearing this sound, Yunwoo suddenly felt as if her head had been knocked. She felt dizzy and nauseous. When I looked up, I saw a familiar figure in front of the hall. I was still calling her, Little 5. Shangguan. Cloud Dance is very strange, but the dizziness in her mind makes her unable to stand still, and she has no time to think about it. She quickly supports the wall around her and staggers forward. Yes, Xiao Wu, you are here at last. We have been here for a long time. In the distance, Shangguan came to Yunwoo with a smile. This time, Yunwoo finally saw his face clearly. It was really Shangguan. However, after what happened to Nangongji just now, Yunwoo's face suddenly darkened. He was still wondering whether it was right or not, but he was ready to fight. Are you a Shangguan? Yunwoo suddenly raised Guwu's broadsword, facing the direction of Shangguan, coldly. Don't get close, because I don't know if you are the real Shangguan. Hearing this, the Shangguan in front of him gave a wry smile, shook his head and sighed. Sure enough, in this real and fake world, no one can believe the people around him. I have questioned Nangongji and Mengbai before, because before we entered the hall, the people around us were cheated by many spirit bodies, and Chi Yi's was seriously injured because of the spirit body. With that, he sighed and looked at the cloud dancing around him. So it seems normal that you don't trust me. Yunwoo was stunned. These words were very pertinent, which made Yunwoo suspicious. When he was thinking about the truth of Shengguan's words, he saw Shengguan behind him. Nanganji, Mengbai, Qiyiz and Situ Lan all came out of the hall one by one. They stood beside Shengguan and looked at Yunwu. They all seemed to be tired. You are all here. Cloud Dance has been suspicious, although now see these familiar faces feel very happy, but the heart is very heavy. This kind of contradictory mood makes Yunwu frown, because if these people are not on his own side, I'm afraid it will be more or less dangerous for him to fight against so many enemies alone tonight. Xiao Wu, let's destroy this hall together. I feel that everything here is controlled by this hall. Meng Bai said, step forward, walk to Yunwu, and smile at Yunwu, so, we hope that no one will be hurt between us. Cloud Dance is still very vigilant, left and right look, see the people around not how. But still don't worry, step back, instinctively raised the sword, standing in the middle of the two people, in different way, then how can you so sure that I am Yunwu? Shengguan and Nangang Yi look at each other and finally move forward. Shengguan smiles at Yunwu, how can we not know that we are so familiar with each other after all? But in Yunwu's heart, she suddenly became highly nervous, because she found that these people around her had unconsciously surrounded her, and she had been surrounded. You certainly don't think so in your mind. Cloud Dance sneers. He turned to look at Qiyiz behind him and Meng Bai beside him. His whole body was purple and full of fighting spirit. His whole body was full of murderous spirit. You must not be my friends. What is it? You are not spiritual body, are you? Qiyiz vomited a breath, pulled out a long sword from the body, and said coldly, it seems that we don't think much about it. This woman must not be a Cloud Dance. Sure enough, all the people around him turned cold and drew out their swords. In an instant, the murderous spirit overflowed and surrounded the clouds. Cloud Dance's heart suddenly a burst of tension, so many people, but he did not feel out in the end what is wrong. The feeling of these people is not wrong, it is clear that they're good friends, from speech and behavior to appearance, no matter which one feels very normal, but why, there is a strange feeling. In front of a few people, the whole body's intention to kill let Cloud Dance high alert, a time of tension. All of a sudden, bursts of white fog from all directions will fill the entire hall, instant, everything in front of you can't see. Up in front of him, Shengguan's voice came from afar. Then, he heard the sound of footsteps rushing towards him. Yunwu raises the big sword and cuts it in one direction. But I don't know why, I can't see clearly the situation in front of her, which makes her very troubled, so she has to act according to her feelings. The voice around him was getting closer and closer, which made Yunwu breathe very hard and cut in a direction. Two weapons suddenly collided, let her back 2 steps, finally stop, holding the ancient martial arts sword, toward the direction of the past. But the sides suddenly disappeared, let Cloud Dance for a while, almost fell down, in time to control themselves, feel the side. And there's no sound around. Come out. Yunwu clenched her teeth, tensed her nerves, and looked at the thick white fog around her. Suddenly behind a cool wind, call from the side, Yunwu instinctively ran to the people around, raised his hand to chop. Little Dance. Stop it suddenly, a pair of hands suddenly came out of his side, lifted Yunwu's hand with a knife and grabbed it, I know you're Xiaowu, I'm really Shengguan. The words did not fall, only heard the wind blowing around. Yunwu looks pale and wants to get rid of the hands of the people around her, but she finds that the hands of the people around her are so firm that she can't get rid of them. Seeing a cold silver light, she cuts her head. Cloud Dance is impatient, raise a leg to the person nearby to kick past, then turn over to pull the person beside to come over, block in front of. Absolutely not. They are definitely not themselves. Cloud Dance's heart suddenly firm up, eyes also a burst of murderous. In front of a burst of roar, and then suddenly into a white gas, scattered away. The Cloud danced to swallow saliva, in the heart shocked extremely. When she was extremely cautious, she felt her back was chilly. She immediately cut back. There was a spark behind her. It was obviously the sound of weapons colliding. The tiger's mouth was sore and bleeding. You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.